are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. Whew. This was quite the day. By quite the day, I mean, as soon as I woke up, my dad's like, "Can you bring me to the hospital?" I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, why not? He has pneumonia. He should be doing fine, though. We were there, waiting around for like 5-6 hours. Pretty boring day, honestly, but I was hella hungry. I didn't eat anything when I woke up, and we're just kind of sitting there the whole day. I kind of just be a good son, stay by my dad's side type of deal. I didn't feel like going to the cafeteria or anything. I was like, I'll eat when you eat. So we had some McDonald's. Yeah, we had to drive into like the bigger town. Obviously, we don't got a hospital in the res here. Did some blood work on them. They did that thing. Well, I don't know if it's called an MRI. You know where the pregnant lady like gets gel put on their belly, and then they put like a thing against their belly or whatever. They did that to my dad. X-ray. All the works. It was like I was in a House MD episode, but my dad was the patient. But he's good. We're all home now. First time driving in the nighttime of winter for a while, but wasn't that bad actually. The roads were fine. Escape. I need like something to listen to in the background. I cannot without it. There's anomalies in this attic. Is this guy playing? No way. This is like the same. Same thing from a different game, but same assets basically. Okay. Unless I can find like a music playlist. Rendy level 3 Dagonoth Kings, no
Hello
fucking
everyone,
shot.
my name's Rendy. Welcome back to a new episode of my level 3 1 of 1 series where we take on some of the craziest challenges that no one else yet has, all while staying only 3 combat, being the lowest combat in the game. I love these challenges because it makes my account both extremely unique and pushes my game knowledge to the edge on how to overcome certain things in the most unorthodox ways possible. If you're enjoying the videos on this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Even hit the join button to support this channel for 99 cents. On this account, I'm trying to do every single combat achievement physically possible for a level 3 account. And once again, let me try and blow your mind in today's video. So, they said it couldn't be done. The hard hilt at 3 combat, or at least 3 combat without Mortania access. But as you'll see after today's video and the one I plan to release next week, well, that theory is proven wrong, as the only thing standing between the hard points for a normal skiller that doesn't have Mortania access like myself and the threshold for getting a hard hilt is all of these Dagonoth King combat achievements. And within today's video and with the video in the coming next week, I want to challenge myself to overcome the
73
Dagonoth
at the Bodhi
Kings
number.
at 3 combat, be the rank 1 person on the leaderboard for all of these Dagonoth Kings, and in today's video specifically take on the combat achievements involving Rex. So when I say they said it was impossible, I'm talking about the level 3 skilling community. Some of them have been saying, oh, you can only get a hard hilt through bug abuse. Well, technically, after this video and the next, I should have enough points to get a hard hilt without any of my Theater of Blood combat achievements and any combat achievement done in Mortania. And this is counting the points even without something as difficult as Perilous Moons, which I've also done in previous videos, still being the only level 3 to do this quest. And that came with a lot of CAs as well, so we're going to count that out. But still, even without Perilous Moons, without Mortania access, hard hilt should be doable as long as we can figure out these Dagonoth King combat achievements and get ourselves on the leaderboard for rank 1 in all 3, Rex, Supreme, and Prime. Today we're going to be focusing on Rex and the basis of how I'm getting down there and setting up my accounts. In next week's video, I'm going to plan on taking
that's
Supreme.
already a challenge in itself, is getting to the Dagonoth layers at level 3. There's a shit ton of tanking you gotta do against mage, range mobs, melee mobs,
and Prime, and doing some even crazier combat achievements. In today's video, you're going to see mechanics and methods that have never before been used. Throughout this video, I'll be having the help of my level 3 friend Scurious, who helps me theorize the way to kill Rex, as well as just helps in the sheer number of accounts and resources I'll be needing, because, well, let's just say between the two of us, I'll be on about 14 accounts and he'll be on about 6. Yeah, it's going to take about 20 accounts to take down this boss efficiently, and for some of these CAs, possibly even more accounts as well. But later in this video, I will be going for a few solo kills on Rex using only 15 accounts all by myself, which becomes extremely hectic when you're in a room filled with 3 NPCs that can kill you, as well as spin-ups everywhere that can kill you as well, all while trying to manage your prayer and health on these 15 accounts, as well as surviving as a level 3 during all of this. Yeah, it's going to be a big problem to do all of this solo, much less with 2 people, but it's going to be a problem I myself and Scurious will overcome in today's video.
Today's video sponsor has teamed up with Assassin's Creed.
Raid has partnered with the Assassin's Creed franchise this month to release a new 5 iconic assassins from that franchise. These include Ezio, Edward Kenway, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra. There's also a new event dungeon antagonist, Pontiff Augustine. He's residing in the event dungeon where you can take the fight to him and earn time-limited Chronofog gear as well as gear from other valuable sets.
That's right, today's video is sponsored by none other than Raid, partnering with Assassin's Creed.
This is a limited time event, so make sure not to miss out and download the game today through my link below. I wish I had these heroes when I started. The graphics of this game are amazing. I always have a special place in my heart for turn-based combat, and Raid Shadow Legends is just an award-winning, massive mobile game that if you haven't heard of it, well, it's gonna change your life, baby. I think Raid one day needs to put me as a legendary champion, let's be honest. All players can get legendary champion Ezio for free by simply logging into Raid.
Randy looks like he's lost weight,
now.
actually. I
Click
remember
my
he
link
used to
below,
be a
download
bigger
the game and
dude.
get legendary Harvest Jack upon registration, legendary Narma the Returned upon level 15, and legendary Elenaro upon reaching level 30. Don't miss out on the limited time Assassin's Creed event in Raid Shadow Legends. After unlocking Ezio, keep logging in for another 7 days to earn extra rewards and gear to power boost him up fast. Participate in special events, tournaments, and summoning boosts to unlock other iconic assassins like Edward Kenway, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra. I wish I'd gotten all these heroes once again when I started playing. Once you get in the game, join my clan Randy Sr., and I'll see you there. So me and Scurious plan to be the only ranks on the Prime, Supreme, and Rex leaderboards and complete as many CAs as possible in this challenge. Now a lot of you already know I have some low agility on this account, so I could not take the 85 agility and 82 agility shortcuts into the Waterbirth dungeon. This made it a lot more difficult and a lot more tedious to get all the way down to the Dagonoth Kings themselves. You would think this process would even be bad, especially with 10 HP, 1 defense, and of course 3 combat, and it was.
Alright, this is gonna be a fucking mess. When my account's made up. Oh, nice. Holy shit, you got a fuck ton.
Oh shit.
What?
I'm getting fucked by a hobgoblin.
Basically, once I got all the way down there, I had to make sure I did not die, or try my best to not die, which still did happen to me and both Scurious many times over, and we had to come back, sometimes even in the middle of kills while we were holding all these 15 other accounts, plus trying to hold the NPCs, HP lowered, all this stuff. And why didn't I get 85 agility before doing this? Because 1, I needed to put out some videos and make some more content, so I was like, I don't have time to get agility, and 2, because agility is like the worst skill ever developed, so I really didn't want to touch that yet. But I will have to eventually for Sarah Godware's dungeon, which also isn't included in the point cap, which adds to Hard Hill. We took out a lot of those besides these Rex ones. So Sarah Doman, 70 agility sometime in the future, but yeah, we're still only 59 agility on this account, so we're running through the entire fucking dungeon here. Okay, so the most efficient way to actually run through the dungeon was to use less accounts, not more, because if I'm controlling multiple accounts that are running through and trying to hold multiple NPCs, it just gets slower and slower and more confusing. I basically just run to the first room where you need 2 people to stand on top of the door or pet rock and just hope to god the Dagonoths don't max 15 on me. Yes, they hit 15s. My HP can also only be boosted to 15 using the Guthix Rest, so I just have to luck out in this room because there's just too many to cover. But once I get past this area, I get into the giant rock crab area, and these can't max a 15 on me. I try to pick up their aggression instead of the Dagonoths from here on out. Then I wait to go down with the doors with the Rune Throwing Axe, use a Rune Throwing Axe on one of my other 2 accounts I'm using to run down through this cave area, and then hold the next room with Magic Protect for the Walasakis as the one hit my level 3. And as long as my account that just went down there still has the 10-minute aggression timer, it will hold that aggression versus it switching over to my level 3. Now if I've been there longer than 10 minutes, it will switch over to the level 3 as it comes down the ladder and into the room. But because my main accounts are new to the area as well, it will target just whoever it sees first. Therefore, I'll put 1 account ahead in every corner of every room. And usually most rooms will only need 1 account. Sometimes they'll need 2. That's why I have 2 accounts. So 1 account, for example, will go down to the Walasaki room. The next account will hold and aggress all the Dagonoths in the next room. And then the room after that, there's a safe spot with the giant rock crabs again. So I'll go through those 2 rooms in my level 3, wait at the top, then take the 2 accounts I'm wandering through with the level 3 to the final cave, and move them to the next 2 rooms, or sometimes even the next 1 room if it does require multiple people in it. But it never requires more than 2 people a room, so I can cycle those next 2 accounts in, and then put my level 3 at the end of the room, while these NPCs are aggressed to, say, the last main in the room, and the other ones can't wander far enough over, and then cycle these 2 mains again and again, then the level 3 past them, until I get to the last room. This is where I need about 4 mains, so once again I have about 15 accounts. I'll take like 2 from the area I've already ran through this whole entire dungeon with, and run them back over to hold Wallasaki's and other things in my massive tank gear, along with Region Bracelet, all this stuff. Try and hold 4 accounts, even out some of the melee and range damage from Dagonoth's Wall using Mage Protect. I'll draw the attention of all 4 areas of Dagonoth's, Wallasaki's, and Rock Lobsters, then run through
Rock
the entire
Lobster.
last room of the dungeon, down
Ain't
the
that a
stairs, up the stairs,
Family Guy
rainbow
meme?
lines
It's
inside
a
the
song
bottom portion
Peter
of
Griffin
the
does.
final room, then
But
run to the
Rock
safe spot,
Lobsters.
and simply wait for the 10 minutes, log in and out so nothing's aggressed to my account, and voila. After this, it allows for 10 minutes of de-aggression, and nothing will touch me except the Dagonoth Kings. And Spinelips, I guess, which I'll get into in a bit because those are a headache in themselves. So I finally got like all 15 of my
Fucking
accounts
rat
down here to the
talismans,
final
bro.
area
What?
of the Waterbreath dungeon next to the Dagonoth Kings. But how do I actually kill the Dagonoth Kings? Because hilariously enough, despite dying many times just running to this area, this was the easiest part of the whole process. Now I had to figure out how to separate Rex, which we're focusing on in today's video, from the other Dagonoth Kings and kill it with a level 3 account. So
Use
how
a
would me and
main.
Scarius do this? Well, it was simple. Just kidding, it wasn't simple at all. That's why it required like 20 of our accounts to do, and we still failed many times over and spent many hours just running accounts back, including the level 3. I'm getting PTSD talking about it. If you can't tell, that's why I'm speaking so fast over every detail of this entire encounter. So I've actually killed Rex many times on weird accounts, including defense peers in many different ways, even utilizing retribution, death piling, recoils, all of that, but nothing compares once again to this level 3 method because it was just terrible. Mainly because of the HP level. My defense peer had 99 HP even at times, but this account has 10. The defense still was a problem. Spinelips are all across the room. They could combo me out at any moment. They max hit at 10. I can boost my HP to 15, sure, but 2 can attack me at the same tick, and although they are very inaccurate, can actually one-shot me if everything is done at the same exact time. So Spinelips were an issue. Spinelips have like a 3-second respawn or something like that. Killing them was not an option. There's also like 30 of them in the room, so you have to kill all of them at the exact same time for just that 2 seconds of clearance. Now you can venom them, and if you kill them in their underwater body state, they do have more of like a 5-minute respawn timer, but once again, it's impossible to hold venom on all of the ones underwater because when they go underwater they de-aggress, and to hold venom or poison on an NPC they have to
be
stay
aggressive.
aggressed to a person. So there wasn't really a reliable way to kill all 30 Spinelips at the same time while underwater. It just didn't make sense. There could be some way, maybe with like 30 accounts and with many people on the job, but we had 2 people max, sometimes even just myself. We're not dealing with Spinelips today. We might have to look into it in the future when dealing with Supreme and Prime, but I don't know, even that sounds impossible, to be honest with you. Instead, we would just try and out RNG the Spinelips. For one, their RNG was already terrible. They almost always hit zeros or didn't even target the right account as long as there were tons of people in the room, because as I said, there's only 30 Spinelips. Some are across the other side of the room, not even focusing on you. And if I'm staying down by the ladder on this level 3, for instance, and I have all my other accounts by the ladder as well, there's going to be 20 accounts down there and maybe only 10 Spinelips near the ladder. So it's like a 33% chance even one of those Spinelips targets my level 3. The way to overcome this was just a mass load of accounts, and not only were they good for spec transferring and vengeancing and all these other forms of neutral damage to take down the Dagonoth Kings.
What?
Keep the Spinelips at bay inside the room, not to kill the level 3, because even though Spinelips are inaccurate, I'm 1 defense. These can easily kill me, and then I'll have to take 2 accounts, run through the whole dungeon again, possibly while holding all the Dagonoth Kings downstairs, and it's just going to be an entire headache. So the more accounts the better, the less chance of failing this. But how was I to get the kill on the actual Dagonoth Rex in this video, much less the other kings later on, without even thinking about the Spinelips? Well, that's where it gets a little bit more intricate, per se. So the first thing I would do is I would take 2 accounts that have max defense bonus, bulwarks, just this year hopefully, HP capes, regen bracelets, and lure both Dagonoth Prime and Supreme all the way to the back wall. Take those accounts back to the south near the ladder, and they're going to hold the aggro of these NPCs. Now Supreme and Prime and even Rex has an initial aggro range of about 6 tiles where it will aggress the person within that 6 tiles. After that, it can aggress you further out, but it'll still focus on that one account that lured it back into the 5 or 6 tiles, specifically if anyone's even further out. And yes, it does have an attack range of like 16 tiles, but it will first of all focus on the account within the 5 or 6 tiles, and will only focus on an account further out of that if you were first within those 5 or 6 tiles. So this lure account is the only account being touched by Supreme and Prime, and they're in this high defense gear to outpace the Spinelip's random damage. And as well, I put Serpentine helms in these accounts so they won't ever get poisoned by Spinelips randomly. They have immunity to poison and venom, obviously, with these helmets on. So they're just massive tanks holding the big boys off for now while we deal with Rex. I would then go down on the third account after I had Supreme and Prime lured away from the ladder, and on these 2 accounts, try and grab Rex's aggro without it touching my other 2 accounts, which kind of was tricky at times, but I had to separate them out. Drag Rex then down by the ladder, and now it was time to send in the other like 15 to 17 accounts that I had, as well as Scurious. So these accounts once again were utilized to hold off Spinelips and just RNG check them, but as well they were used to spec transfer 2 accounts that Scurious would bring down the ladder. I would go down the ladder in this specific pattern in order to not grab Rex and mess up his safe spot on the ladder, as if I unstuck him from the spot, I would have to go back up the ladder on 15 accounts at once and panic and hope that Rex didn't kill any of my accounts. And you'll see later my friend Scurious kind of did that quite a bit, but it's okay, we forgive him, he helped us out a lot, so yeah. He killed some of my accounts this way. Made me have to panic a few times. So yeah, down the ladder, over 1 tile, then over 2 more tiles so we can get in Vengeance and spec transfer range of the account that's actually going to be attacking Rex this whole time. This ladder safe spot is the best safe spot to use because it blocks off a lot of the Spinelips that could possibly attack my level 3 as well when it goes down the ladder eventually, and it allows for these other accounts.
You can vengeance others, right? I forget. I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Attacked by Spinelips. So these other alts just had max defense bonus on. Some of them only had 40 defense or 60 defense, so they looked like bot noobs. Like I had to put granite plate bodies and D-meds on them with mud stabs, but these are my vengeance alts, and they're not all maxed mains, obviously, like the ones that are holding off Prime and Supreme, but I would also utilize those and put Lunar Spellbook runes on those 2 accounts to add to the spec transfer alts, because we would have to spec down this boss 20 times, and I would be spec transferring to actually 2 accounts, not
Holy
just
fuck,
one.
spec transferring like Corp Beast? That's crazy.
Scurious brought about 5 Vengeance spec transfer alts himself, put them in the pile as well to mitigate Spinelips, and then had his 2 accounts being a Horn account next to the ladder, further away from the Venge and spec transfer alts, as well as a main account that had all the way brewed down stats with Armadillo Brews. These new Armadillo Brews came in the game, and they're actually really good for this because they lowered defense and strength and attack. So whenever the time came, whenever we lowered Rex down enough with special attacks from say like an Arclight, then we could just use this same account to start taking damage from Rex with only 1 defense. So Rex has extremely fast regenerating HP. It regenerates about once every 6 ticks. This account has no stats, so you would think it's never going to hit on Rex since it's armor brewed all the way down. But this is where the other account by the ladder with the new Horn comes into play. The Soul Flame Horn special attack actually is going to be very useful, and it is once again a newer item as well. It surrounds the player in a 3x3 range whenever they use a special attack if the other player has accept aid on, and guarantees them their next melee hit. Because he's using Emberlight,
like
and
a
even though he's
tanking
brewed all the way
thing?
down, he's guaranteed the next special attack hit to hit a 1. But the only problem with this is now we have to spec transfer 2 accounts. 2 accounts are now using special attack. So I would use about 15 of my alts to continuously spec transfer this account, as well as the Soul Flame Horn account. For the main, sitting in front of Rex, lowering it down, I would spec transfer it 2 times, and then I would spec transfer the Horn account once. That's because the spec with the Emberlight is 50% while the Horn is 25%. So it was a different ratio, 2 to 1 with the main versus the Horn account, but eventually we would need to spec this down about 20 times. That's where all these alts also came into play, because we would have Light Bearer rings on all these accounts to regen our special attack. So we would try to get Rex's stats down to a chicken, because Emberlight, Arclight, Darklight, they all lower a boss's attack, strength, and defense by 5% per successful hit with the special attack. This means we would need 20 special attacks from the actual account standing in front of the ladder and the main, as well as another 10 to the Horn account. Cycling through all our 20 accounts, this wouldn't even be enough with 1 cycle, especially with Rex's massive regen rate. That's to his HP as well as his attack, strength, and defense to get enough special attacks and to lower his defense to practically 1. We'd be sitting there for about 10 minutes if doing everything perfectly to the Horn account and the Rex killing account at the same time. I could reach these accounts as well with my accounts holding Prime and Supreme now further to the south, and this added a couple extra spec transfers, but still, this took a lot of time and it took a refresh cycle of special attack on all the accounts to finally get it to entirely chicken down stats to where Rex could only max hit a 1 temporarily because his stats are going up
They
once
regen.
every 6 ticks. So he can very quickly increase his attack and strength and start slaughtering, say, a level 3 down there along with the Spinelips on top of it. After 2 cycles of using the special attacks and spec transfer alts with light bearers, we then would check Rex's stats with Monster Examine, which hilariously enough, the standard spellbook for Monster Examine worked at 0 magic now since its release about a year ago, and it was even posted on the wiki that this was a known bug. And this was great for this account because it was Armadillo Brood all the way down. It could just check the stats itself on Rex, even though it was 0 magic, and we could see where its HP was at, where its defense was at, and all these different things. But literally one day after we started this process and figured it all out with Rex, well, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but they finally changed with an update the magic level requirement to be properly set to 42 instead of 1, so we had to have the alt start checking the actual stats of Rex towards the end to know where its HP was at, because you would need it at full HP to finally come down and poison dynamite it on a level 3. That's because poison dynamite only works if an NPC
Poison
has full
dynamite?
HP.
Oh, shit.
So once its HP was regenerated to full but its defense attack was all the way down to 0, Scurious would do the final Emberlight spec, wait 6 seconds for it to regen 1 HP back to full, then on his other account with Cursed Amulet and Venom, which was Monster Examining, he would throw a spell which maxes a 1 with the Cursed Magic Amulet and Serpentine Helm with a Toxic Trident to guarantee a 1 hit that would cycle 20 ticks later into a poison tick down. We would need this because we would need to instantly lower Rex's health as soon as dynamite went off, or it could go back up to full and not count towards the level 3's kill count, because that's how fast this thing's health regenerated. So after that initial snare hit of the 1, I waited 6 ticks and spammed poison dynamite while getting slaughtered by Spinelips and everything else, and tried to get a hit off on Rex over and over again before the poison started activating, or else the dynamite wouldn't go off because his HP would once again be under full. So yes, I had about 3 attempts to put off successful poison dynamite on Rex's now probably 3 defense, which had been regenerated, but as well he had like 250 defense bonus even against my range, which was the best option here because of the possible range bonus I could be using alongside the poison dynamite. So most of these were 0. On average, I would say it took 12 dynamite to hit this NPC even with only 1 to 3 defense on it, but because of its high defense bonus against all attack styles including range, meaning we would have to have another alt even at the top of the stairs refueling dynamite to this account. And this is one of the bosses I collected for nearly a year all of these stackable nightshade for by planting belladonnas and farming them like once a day. This accumulated me to up to about 4,600 nightshades that were stackable, and so therefore this other account could trade me normal dynamite, and I could use these untradeable stackable nightshades and make more dynamite without having to run back through the entire Waterbirth cave. If you didn't have stackable nightshade, none of this is something you would have ever wanted to do, because you would be having to run through while holding Rex over and over again, even with the agility shortcut, through the last room with 4 accounts holding every NPC. It's just a wild time. I don't suggest anyone doing this without stackable nightshade. So I would go up the ladder, re-gear. I would also use venom sacks on the level 3 as well as across
Nightshade.
all
I think
my
that's
alts
like a
inside
rogue.
this Dagonoth
Well,
King Cave,
it's
because
a
even though
herb and
damage
wild
can only be 12 minutes of
rogues
vulnerability
use
to poison,
for
it's a stackable
poison
item,
or
meaning I could
something
put, like,
else.
hundreds of these in my inventory and stay here forever on all these
For
accounts, or at
energy,
least until I
like,
need to re-gear, which was about once every
consume.
2 to 3 kills. Yeah. Forgot to talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But after about another inventory of dynamite traded to me and made on the spot with these stackable nightshades, I would go down again and I would try killing Rex yet again with 3 dynamite, sometimes even 1 or 2 at a time, because you can't actually use poison dynamite on NPCs if projectiles are hitting you, which Spinelips would randomly start hitting me, so I'd have to try and throw the dynamite between the hits of the Spinelips and between the hits of the chicken it down Rex now. Therefore, sometimes, yeah, I couldn't even get off a singular dynamite before having to go back up the ladder and before it was already poisoned. Now, if I didn't get a hit off before the poison went off, well, I would have to remove the poison damage off the Rex NPC, or else it would just keep going down, and I would have to wait longer for its hit points to go back up to full before I could try to poison dynamite it again with a new inventory or a new 3 dynamite. So in between Rex's attacks, I would have Scurrius or myself time it on the account that's Emberlight specking it down, and go up the ladder right after it slapped our account, then back down before the next attack within that 4 tick window. So it would have de-aggressed for a split tick or 2 to lose its poison, because poison doesn't hold during aggression like I was talking about with Spinelips, and also because it won't have a next attack to focus anyone else on the other side of the ladder, meaning we won't have to run up all the accounts and panic while Rex is attacking 20 of our accounts trying to get them out of there and getting Rex back into the safe spot. Timing the up and down of the ladder was super important here after having a failed attempt with a dynamite and still getting the poison off from the Serpentine Helm Toxic Trident account. Another point I want to make here is I would have to focus on my HP at all times over the cost of using dynamite on this NPC, because as soon as you see spin lip damage coming on the level 3, you got to start combo eating pieces to rest, because that could go very bad very quickly. And once again, I don't want to have to run through the entire cave, spend another 20 minutes doing that and re-gearing my accounts, moving everything around in the current state. As well, I would have to take one step out away from the ladder, because you can't use poison dynamite unless you can see the NPC's true tile, and that ladder corner actually blocks the true tile from the level 3. And I found this out quickly. I was like, why isn't my dynamite being used on Rex? And it was because I couldn't actually see that true tile. So we take one step out, which further suscepts us to spin lip damage from the other side of the room, which is kind of sketchy, but also allows us to then use poison dynamite and hope within the 1 to 3 poison dynamites we get a hit off. Now, not only do we need to get a hit off with poison dynamite, which is already hard enough with its massive defense bonus and this small window of time, but we also need to hit at least 3 or 4, because we made the mistake of rolling with a 2 earlier. Once again, Rex regenerates his HP super fast, and he can regenerate 2 even before the poison starts to tick down from the earlier serpentine snare, depending on when the dynamite was placed in the process. So we would prefer a 3 or 4 damage from the poison dynamite, and then right after that, instantly, the poison would start ticking down Rex's HP and slightly outpacing its regeneration. Even though it was super fast, the 6 damage from the poison would technically outpace it at first.
And snaring. Come on. Don't use it anymore after. Oh fuck.
Just
Oh,
okay, that's good.
that worked. Yeah. Just we can't snare it anymore. We have to do all venge.
It's fine.
From here, I would take even another account down, which was 1 defense, 99 HP with a Ring of Suffering, and start just letting Rex slap me, because we needed no defense to have Rex hit us at this phase to recoil its HP back down, because Rex had almost no stats.
God.
He was slowly regenerating, and as
Oh,
you'll
God.
see towards the later end of
One
Rex's
more
health,
hit,
he
come on.
starts hitting like 6s
Tank.
up towards 10s
Tank.
because of
Kill
how
it.
fast he regenerates.
Okay.
But at the start of this kill, we need to make sure his HP stays below full, because if I get a dynamite off, I get the hit
Fuck.
off, and his
No
HP climbs back up to full.
unfinishables. I'm
It doesn't
actually
award my
pissed.
level 3 kill credit. Now, the dynamite is true damage, but recoil, vengeance, echo boots, Darox even on the main that has brewed down 1 defense doesn't count as true damage, so the kill credit will actually technically go to the level 3 who used the dynamite, as long as we don't touch it with any other account with real physical attack damage. Same with poison, it doesn't count towards any account because it re-healed back to full before the poison ticked down. This also allows us to use snare even again if we wanted to, whenever the poison starts lowering naturally as it does, because we hit a 3, and therefore we can hit 2 1s still with snare, and the level 3 will have the majority kill credit, having hit the 3 over the 2 1s. And if we have even another account with snare, they could hit 2 1s as well, and you could continue this process. But we had 1 account with snare because there was so much hectic stuff going on. At this point in time, we couldn't really keep up with 2 snare accounts, but that's fine, because once again I had my 1 defense account with a Suffering that was recoiling Rex, and we had his main that had Armadillo brewed down stats with now DH, Amulet of the Damned, Echo Boots, and Ring of Suffering, as well as all the
That's
Venge accounts
crazy.
constantly feeding Venge to both of these accounts, while they would either eat Armor Brews on the higher level main to maintain its defense low, or Sarah Brews to put my defense to 3 on the 1 defense account, which healed more actually and was more beneficial to saving supplies. So this would allow us to, yes, finally get a Rex kill after I would say about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, and this was hectic to say the least, if you cannot tell.
Okay, what are
And
we at?
required
25
20
minutes?
accounts,
I gotta use the
precision,
washroom.
not dying on the level 3, and hoping for some good RNG from Spinelips as well as from the Poison Dynamite and everything else we just covered.
Maybe a couple Gothic. I don't even know, bro. Fucking everything.
What do you need? What do you need? I need numbers. I need numbers.
Give me 2 Gothic Rest, 2 range pots, and then 10 dynamite.
11 actually.
In fact, one time, it took Scurrius literally 5 inventories to hit the final 3 damage, and even with the sketchy 2 in this case, to get Dagonoth Rex down. And he was literally raging at the computer because we had been doing this for an hour, and he had to run back. He had died even at times by the Spinelips because it had taken so long. That's because, yeah, Rex's defense bonus, even though its stats are chickened all the way down, is still super high, and it's hard to hit on this thing.
Come on. Come on. Fuck you.
You sure you lowered it?
Oh, dude. Defense is down is at 6 right now.
Wow.
What the fuck, man? I'm going fucking nuts.
You got your crossbow on accurate?
Not accurate. Fucking. I got fucking. What's my range? What is 56? It's like I don't know what's going on. Oh, so fast. Oh my god. You're stupid.
Come on, bro.
God, it's doing a thing. You fucking piece of shit. Please, please, please. Oh god. Oh,
I think that was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
yes. Oh, thank God you're fucking recoil.
After about 3 kills, this is when we had to start restocking. So we would take all 20 of our accounts back up to the safe spot, and we both had agility alts where we would run supplies over and over again and drop them on the ground for all these accounts, including the level 3, which constantly needed more dynamite, and the dynamite alt, which also needed more dynamite to later trade to the level 3. Oh yeah, also while doing all this, we had to make sure all of our alts that were vengeancing and spec transferring didn't die. They had venom sacs as well, poison immunity, prayer, food, all of this. So we'd restock sacks if we needed to, which weren't as oftenly done, as well as just tuna potatoes, per potions, per regeneration potions even later on, we'll see with Prime and Supreme in the next video. And we would just drop bulks of this on the ground with our high agility accounts, keep running them back, and it would take like 20 to 30 minutes to restock enough inventory for about 3 kills on average on Rex. For the combat achievement task, I would need 10 kills, then 25 kills to complete both of these. But yeah, I eventually even took this boss on solo with my 16 alts. It was terrible. I was getting maybe like 1 kill per 2 hours, so this is really a kind of 2-person gig. Now once again, yes, I could do it by myself, but am I going to kill an extra 50 hours just to do that versus, you know, 15? No. So screw this. We're gonna wait for Scurrius to get back on because this is just god awful. Tons of supply running and all of this. 10 kill credit and eventually even 25 was acquired. But unfortunately, I didn't get any collection logs or berserker rings from Rex or anything like that. But yeah, at this point, no rings, no axes, nothing. Just sheer kill credit. And of course, to get rank 1 on the level 3 skiller leaderboards for Dagonoth Rex, being only one of 2 people even on the high scores for this, the other being Scurrius, because we're doing this together. Also, yes, I realize almost no one else is probably going to do this because of the sheer amount of accounts, time,
25 minutes ago,
ridiculousness that's put into
25.
this, as well as sheer autism.
Sheer and weaponized
Actually,
autism.
and was more beneficial to saving supplies. So this would allow us to, yes, finally get a Rex kill after I would say about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. And this was hectic to say the least, if you cannot tell, and required 20 accounts, precision, not dying on the level 3, and hoping for some good RNG from Spinelips as well as from the poison dynamite and everything else we just covered.
Just waiting on timer to go down. $72, $73, nice specs. God damn. I think I got 150 earlier, like 4 or 5 kills ago.
Maybe a couple Gothic. I don't even know, bro. Fucking everything.
What do you need? What do you need? I need numbers. I need numbers.
Give me 2 Gothic's Rest, 2 range pots, and then 10 dynamite. 11 actually.
In fact, one time, it took Scurrius literally 5 inventories to hit the final 3 damage, and even with the sketchy 2 in this case, to get Dagonoth Rex down. And he was literally raging at the computer because we had been doing this for an hour, and he had to run back. He had died even at times by the Spinelips because it had taken so long. That's because, yeah, Rex's defense bonus, even though its stats are chickened all the way down, is still super high, and it's hard to hit on this thing.
Come on. Come on. Fuck you.
You sure you lowered it?
Oh, dude. Defense is down is at 6 right now.
Wow.
What the fuck, man? I'm going fucking nuts.
You got your crossbow on accurate?
Not accurate. Fucking. I got fucking. What's my range bonus? 56? It's like, I don't know what's going on. No, it's so bad.
Actually, we gotta go,
Oh my god.
called it, get some keys in the wilderness real quick.
Come on, bro.
Quote unquote, real fucking quick. This could be an hour.
God, it's doing anything.
Whew. Maybe I should, get a couple of keys, actually.
Fucking piece of shit. Please. 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 Oh god. Oh,
Think that was good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
yes. Oh, thank god you're fucking recoil.
After about 3 kills, this is when we had to start restocking. So we would take all 20 of our accounts back up to the safe spot, and we both had agility alts where we would run supplies over and over again and drop them on the ground for all these accounts, including the level 3, which constantly needed more dynamite, and the dynamite alt, which also needed more dynamite to later trade to the level 3. Oh yeah, also while doing all this, we had to make sure all of our alts that were vengeancing and spec transferring didn't die. They had venom sacks as well, poison immunity, prayer, food, all of this. So we'd restock sacks if we needed to, which weren't as oftenly done, as well as just tuna potatoes, per potions, per regeneration potions even later on, we'll see with Prime and Supreme in the next video. And we would just drop bulks of this on the ground with our high agility accounts, keep running them back, and it would take like 20 to 30 minutes to restock enough inventory for about 3 kills on average on Rex. For the combat achievement task, I would need 10 kills, then 25 kills to complete both of these. But yeah, I eventually even took this boss on solo with my 16 alts. It was terrible. I was getting maybe like 1 kill per 2 hours, so this is really a kind of 2-person gig. Now once again, yes, I could do it by myself, but am I going to kill an extra
My
50
God.
hours just to do that?
Level
versus,
100 bandits?
15?
130? I don't remember those
So,
being
screw
there.
this. We're gonna wait for Scurrius to get back on because this is just god awful. After tons of supply running,
Well,
and
time
all
to
of
get some
this, 10
keys.
kill credit and eventually even 25 was acquired. But unfortunately, I didn't get any collection logs or berserker rings from Rex or anything like that. But yeah, at this point, no rings, no axes, nothing. Just sheer kill credit, and of course get rank 1 on the level 3 skiller leaderboards for Dagonoth Rex, being only one of 2 people even on the high scores for this, the other being Scurrius, because we're doing this together. Also, yes, I realize almost no one else is probably going to do this because of the sheer amount of accounts, time, commitment, ridiculousness that's put into this, as well as sheer autism. But we're not even done yet with Rex. We still have some more CAs to do. And that is first the Frozen King, which shouldn't be too difficult. We just do the same process, but at the end, we have an account that throws a bind. Or even like I said, if we had a 3 with the Poison Dynamite, we could have a snare, hit a 1 at the end and hold it for longer. Time it with the Vengeance accounts, check its HP. Now on this monster examine alt, because the main can't check it anymore. I don't know, are they watching me? That's basically what we did. We just used a snare at the end with a 3 hit of the Dynamite, and we had 10 seconds to kill it off with Vengeance. Luckily, towards the end of the kill, Rex does more damage, and it was easier to guarantee a kill with 2 alts using Recoil and Vengeance, and Rex's now higher regenerated stats, which once again regenerate by 1 every 6 seconds. And imagine this kill takes about 5 minutes once you get everything prepared. This Poison Dynamite on it, yeah, it's gonna be up to about 50 to 60 attack and strength, so it can constantly do some massive damage, especially to these accounts that either have brewed down 1 defense or brewed up 3 defense. So there we go, that's the Frozen King task. Probably the easiest CA of them all, to be honest, even easier than the kill count ones. But after this, things got a little bit iffy. So now for the final combat achievement for this video, as well as for Rex in general, as we'll focus on the next 2 bosses next week, is going to be taking damage from Supreme and Prime, all while killing Rex
Ooh.
at the exact same time. This was a lot harder than it sounds. I mean, it does sound pretty messed up, to be honest, doing this on a level 3 with 10 HP to begin with, because Supreme hits 30s, Prime hits 50s, and I need to somehow be in combat with both of them at the exact same tick that Rex falls to the ground and dies. Well, here's where one of my favorite things
Fucking
comes
one-shot
into
this
play.
thing, come
It
on.
makes this a bit more interesting of a combat achievement to overcome. As you've seen in my previous videos with Theater of Blood, I would skip the soap maze with a hot rock cake and a red click of an item or an object on the other side of the maze. There are a couple stalls in the game which you can still move while stalled, along with a red X click, such as this hot rock cake. So I decided to get a hot rock cake, navigate back through the caves, because this thing will cool off in 2 hours and I can't log out with it, and if I do I have to re-drop it on the ground, pick it up, because if you relog with a hot rock cake it will cool within 2 minutes. Anyways, I got the hot rock cake, okay? We did the same process, brought Rex all the way down to about 10 HP. Then I took all the accounts up the ladder to get out of the way, and then took one account to lure Rex over away from the ladder, but still in a safe spot relatively nearby. From here, I would bring the accounts back down to Vengeance this Brood Down alt from the ladder at a safe distance so that Rex would not focus any of these accounts, because I would not want Rex to be wandering around while I was in combat with Supreme and Prime during its kill. From here, I would wait for Rex to regen back up to at least 200 stats, and therefore also once again 200 health. So we'd have to revenge back down with these alts, his health to about 1, and have one of my tank alts finally move out of the 6 tile range of Supreme, then have my Prime alt take Supreme's aggro range, drop an item between the 2 of these NPCs, while tanking Supreme with this massive defense gear and the Den's Bulwark, and sitting there till the item spawned after 60 seconds, as well as taking the aggro of both Prime and Supreme on one account in one singular location on top of the dropped item. Now I would come down on the level 3, I would have about a 9-second window here, click the item on the ground under this tank account, then quickly guzzle the hot rock cake with no gloves, making me stalled yet moving at the same time. When I'm stalled, I take no damage, but I'm technically in combat now inside the body of my other account, taking AoE damage from both Prime and Supreme. So therefore, I'm in combat with both of these accounts, and within this 9-tick window, I'll send Vengeances along with Echo Boots, DH Amulet of the Damned, Ring of Suffering hits to Rex, hope with his now regenerated stats that he hits this account gets me the KC at the same time that I guzzle the rock cake within this stall for that
KC.
9-second window, which I have time if Rex fails me, hits a 0,
Kill
I don't recoil anything,
wait,
for him to hit
it's
me
a
again, and
achieve?
then finally Vengeance back onto Rex with his fast regen and HP, and hope that he hits me for something comparable to actually kill him while in the stall. This was a little bit of an RNG check, but honestly I would say it has maybe like a 60 to 70% success rate, and all I would have to do is come all the way back through Waterbirth Dungeon, you know, no big deal on my level 3 if this failed. But fortunately for us, my first attempt, I actually did this all solo by myself and got that combat achievement. Then later helped Scurious do the same, got his combat achievement, although we realized something on his run through that I got lucky on with mine was that you would probably have to spam click guzzle on the rock cake to actually get into that stall, because there's a chance a Spinalip throws a projectile on you. Whenever a projectile has targeted you on an account, you can't actually guzzle with a rock cake or eat a rock cake. It's some weird mechanic that was added in. So you have to spam click guzzle and hopefully hit the guzzle before you get too close in range of Supreme and Prime, and make sure you're in that stall. So you're getting attacked with all this projectile damage, but you're still not dead yet technically, and Rex therefore dies during the projectile damage during the combat with Prime and Supreme, giving us that final Rex combat achievement. Now there's one more combat achievement for Rex that I will get into in the next video, and that is having it die the same time as another NPC you have kill credit on, which is absolute hell, let me tell you, and that took even more time than anything else. But we'll get into that in the next video, as well as trying to figure out a way to kill Prime and Supreme and try to finish off every single combat achievement, as well as become rank 1 for all.
Well, what did he do previously? Testing the seas at a level
Hello everyone,
3?
my name's Rindy and welcome back to the level 3 1 of 1 series. In this series we take on near impossible goals on a level 3 account. Today's video is going to be a bit different, and it's going to focus on the new skill, which is sailing, and I'm going to take my level 3 to the sea. Many of you know, once again, I was not a big fan of sailing when it came out, but with the new content, even though it's been tested by Jagex, it's been tested by thousands of players throughout
still sucks.
beta, still, every piece of new content has bugs, and sadly enough, that's what lured me to this piece of content. And as you saw in my last video, I tested out one of these bugs and figured out how to utilize that. But for an account like this level 3, I can't even use something like that. I'm never going to have access to those spawn points because I can't do medium Artie Diary for the Artie Diary respawn, and I can't do King's Ransom because of the 65 magic and other quest requirements. So my level 3 of course is restricted in some capacity. Now I've done things on this account that should be restricted that I've somehow made unrestricted, but this is one thing I could not get past, and unfortunately I would have to start out sailing like any other normal person on this level 3 account. But what originally got me into looking at sailing at all, because it had been a few days since it even came out, was the fact that I had a few people tipping me off on a certain possible bug that was one quite different from the last one. This one got my interest more as it focused on the possibility of putting a level 3 account in restricted areas, which I've done before, which have changed over the years, but maybe I thought I would have a window of opportunity here to get a level 3 possibly to some place such as Lunar Island, as well as the Regicide area, to maybe even take on something like Zulra. The bug I was getting tipped off on had to do with multiple people sailing on a singular ship with the feature that is hardly used yet, at least in the new sailing skill. The owner of the ship would go to a port, he would get on that port, dock from the port, and then the lower leveled account would go ahead and log out and be able to log back in at the port he had just undocked at, even though the level 3 or the lower level account hadn't even touched that port at all in the first place. Another bug I found coincidentally testing this bug was if you hopped worlds to a world that your friend was not on, you would end up at a stranded island that you would have to teleport or leave through other means to get off of. Whereas if you hop back to the world your friend was on from this island still, and if your friend was still on his boat in that world, you would end up back on his boat even if he had moved it. Or if he got off his boat entirely or logged off, you would end up once again back at the last port he used. At least that's what we thought the bug was going to do. So theoretically it would have been possible to use something like this to have a main go to Lunar Island that has completed the quest, which is required to dock at that port, and then that main would go on that port, back off that port with you still inside of his boat as a level 3 or an account that can't do the Lunar Diplomacy quest, which is mini restricted builds. And from there you would log out in his boat, and you would hope that this bug would put you where the main undocked earlier on Lunar Island, and then you would have access to that island as well as some untradables. And the same could happen near Port Tyrus after the Regicide completion on a main, and possibly put you in the Zolandra area and even give you the ability to take on maybe the combat task that has to do with killing 4 snakelings within the same moment, if not taking on Zulra entirely as a restricted build like a 1 attack obby tank, because Underground Pass required for Regicide gives you attack XP, requires range. There's all kinds of restricted builds that could benefit from actually getting to the port near Regicide and near Zolandra without having the Underground Pass or Regicide quest completed. But unfortunately, after some extensive testing, it seemed that this bug would work with pretty much any port except for the ones that you did not have the sailing level for. And to test the Regicide Port Tyrus area, I would need 66 sailing, and to test even worse the Lunar Island, I would need 76 sailing. So this is going to basically force me to train my sailing up and see if hopefully the restriction to this bug is only on the actual sailing level itself, and that it doesn't look past that to the quest requirements. I might as well complete everything I can that might feature in the future for just some niche conditions of the account that maybe like already how the achievements are on this very unique skiller. Now speaking of unique achievements that are no longer possible, this account does have Fremennik trials, so if it didn't, I could have actually saved myself some time and gotten 65 sailing instead of 66 to test out this port method, as you can't undock in Relica unless you have Fremennik trials done, and that is a typically locked quest for a level 3, but the nearest level I'm locked out of is 66 for the Port Tyrus undocking and docking of the ship. One other thing I did test, which kind of made me a little bit less hopeful for this working out in the end, was I went ahead and tried something similar. Although I did have the sailing, for instance, on one account to undock on Intrana, well, I decided to put items on this account that were wieldable weapons, and Intrana doesn't usually allow you to have weapons or armor, so I was thinking, you know, maybe if the game only checks for the sailing level, it won't check for weapons and armor, and then therefore quests down the line when I get to that sailing level without having to test that specifically. But as it turns out, you can't relog in Intrana even with weapons and armor, even if you do have the sailing level for the stock. But all other docks that you do have the sailing level requirement for, looking past quest requirements, and apparently even one of the islands I've heard inside the Tortuga quest, you can undock at by relogging. So Hope is still there with Tortuga Island and the quest rec not being behind that island for relog dock hopping. But for something like Entrana, for some reason, there are still checks on weapons and armor past just the initial sailing level. So another thing I wanted to test with sailing on my level 3 today that's kind of beneficial to niche builds like this is the use of the cannons and how those work. Apparently you can get 0 XP by using your crewmates on a boat and having them fire the cannons, although I'm not sure how you command them to actually attack an NPC. I've heard you can do this by right-click attacking the NPC from a far distance, or maybe using something like a crossbow with no ammo, and it'll target that NPC for your NPCs in your boat to attack. I'll see how this works, particularly later on, and how fast it is to actually kill NPCs this way, but this only does actually work inside the water and NPCs that are in the water. For some reason, you can't target NPCs on the shore, as it was mentioned in the original dev blog, which I kind of like, to be honest, because I don't want to be wandering around on the shore and seeing people just shooting things off the side of the shore ridiculously as I'm exploring normal landlocked quests and just doing normal content throughout the game. So that's going to be an interesting part of today's video, is me figuring out how to get flippers without even starting Skippy's mini quest, without using fission explosives, and using these new cannons that apparently don't give XP only when your NPC crewmates fire them. Whereas if I actually clicked the fire button on these cannons, and if I was around an NPC, it would give range XP as well as sailing and potentially fail my account. So speaking of which, there was another important topic I wanted to get into. The Medallion of the Deep for restricted builds actually ended up failing one guy's account. He was like a max defense peer. You got 500 magic XP from just assembling this medallion. It had no warning on it, but they changed that. So now you can actually assemble a Medallion of the Deep without any magic XP. I'm pretty sure that guy's account though now is just completely fucked. But luckily I waited a bit to do sailing, and that thing requires like 66 sailing anyways to get at a minimum, and I definitely was not there yet to even attempt to assemble that thing. So sometimes it's better to be later than earlier, whereas you can test bugs, sure, and you know, do an action and pull the ladder up behind you. Other things you don't want to touch at all, so it's always nice to test everything first on a main account. Another thing I tested with sailing right off the bat was the old method I used to smuggle the shrimp off of Tutorial Island, which are still in circulation today, by the way. Apparently the one I gave away in the video is being sold for upwards of like $1 bill now, but I was thinking maybe that could be recreated, or maybe you could skip combat XP within Vanica and the rats in Tutorial Island by just taking a boat over there and simply teleothering a person off of Tutorial Island before they get to that stage. But unfortunately they fixed teleother, as it seems. Not only did they remove the line of sight off of the group Iron Man Island to teleother, which was the initial patch to that, but they also removed the ability to teleother players as well from anywhere around the island. It just says you can no longer teleport that player. Also tried even throwing hand eggs, snowballs at the player, and nothing seemed to work. It recognized the player was there, and with other actions like clicking a tree or any other red click action off the shore with a boat, your character just seems like it doesn't even recognize anything there. When you use this teleother on another player or this gnome ball, it actually does turn your player and move it towards that and give you a game message saying you can't do that, whereas with the other actions it just doesn't do anything at all and just acts like you clicked a nulled red click off the shoreline. So the end goal for today's video is to train up to at least 66 sailing to test that undocking at Port Tyrus on my level 3, as well as discovering my most favorable method for taking on sailing, getting all the quests completed for sailing, including the new Tortuga quest where I have to kill the Shellbane Griffin, which is probably going to be somewhat complex as a level 3, and it has a high Slayer requirement, which luckily I do already have. And lastly, I want to take on some Mogres without the Mogre mini quest completed, as I don't know, I think that looks cool. Mini quests don't give quest points, so I'll never have to actually complete them. It'll be red logged in my quest booklet, but I can possibly get flippers now through using cannons and the NPCs I recruit onto my boat's AoE damage to kill Mogres and harvest their bodies. Before we get deeper into these treacherous waters, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor for today's video, and that is, thank you, AG1, who sent me even more of their product that I loved so much. They sent me so much of it. You can get this too.
Oh my god, come on, I've probably killed 50, 60. Like, I'm actually dry for a fucking key now. This is crazy.
Better mornings, your better mornings start here. It is technically the morning right now. It's about 4 a.m. I haven't slept yet, but oh my god, I have a box in front of my face. Here, hold this for a second. As you can see, I already have some product because I buy this stuff all the time. I love it. I look much different from that first shout out I did to AG1 back in the day. I look a bit healthier, a bit more fit. Thanks for holding that. I can put this over here now. Yeah, some of that I think is due to AG1. It's a great, comprehensive, and convenient daily nutrition with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients made for just about everybody. Especially guys with weird mustaches who wear lots of green. All you have to do is add 8 to 12 ounces of water as well as a singular scoop into the drink, shake it around a bit, and then, well, simply drink it. So what are you waiting for? AG1 has their best offer ever. Subscribe through my link, drinkag1.com/rainy.
And when you first subscribe to AG1, you'll get an AG1 welcome kit, a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2, a morning person hat like I have, and you'll get to try each new flavor of AG1 in their new sleep supplement, AGZ. That's $126 in free gifts for new subscribers.
Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. So after dabbling in some of these possible bugs, and as you saw in my last video, sailing without actually sailing, I decided to sail legitimately and start the sailing process on my level 3 to eventually possibly see if something else worked down the line at 66 sailing. So to do that, I actually went ahead and followed Kribis's guide to 35, as it was recommended to get the steel salvaging hook and then go to the Barracuda salvaging for AFK decent XP rates. But to get that initial first 35 levels, I did take on all of the early quests for sailing. I had all 3 out of the 4 quests done, the 4th being the Tortugan? The 4th being the Tortugan quest that I'm going to take on later, once again as a level 3, which has 2 decently difficult bosses in it, specifically the last one that's going to be tricky and is going to involve a weird method to complete and probably some tick eating. Charting in those quests got me to around 28 sailing, and from here I just did a lot of long cargo tasks, and this took me about 6 hours to get 35 or 36 sailing. I also went on long treks all the way to Piscarillas from the Port Sarum to do long deliveries, but just because I could get some charting tasks out of the way, I did one of these on mobile and it took me 45 minutes to get across the map not knowing what I was doing. I got that as well as some charting activities. I found that actually the most relaxing part of sailing was just going to the new charting spots, but those are all one-off things. You can do those one time.
While on these long journeys, I also realized there were some interesting possible tests I could do, such as putting my boat near the other boats in pest control area to try and bypass into the area where people are waiting to get in the novice, medium, and elite tier boats, all requiring combat levels which I don't have, being 40, 70, and 100. But as it turns out, this is just restricted to the actual area of the waiting room in the boat itself, and even parked one tile out in any corner of the map near these boats wouldn't force me into any of these pest control games. Therefore, I couldn't get that diary requirement and couldn't go to pest control, and instead I just looked like an idiot parked right outside these boats as people made fun of me.
So after that, yeah, I just had to continue down on the cargo task. I finally upgraded my boat, added the steel salvaging hook, and went to Barracuda. So after a few more hours of doing some AFK Barracuda salvaging with my steel hook and still no crew members yet, at around 47 sailing, because I was doing part of this on mobile, I decided to then hop on the computer and eventually do that Tortugan quest. But for the first boss, the only problem with this really was that it had 110 health. So to kill this, poison would only do about 99 damage over the course of 10 minutes. I decided I was going to use this though for the majority of the kill rather than sit there and face tank and purple sweet and use Guthix rest. It was an instance boss fight, so I couldn't use friends to vengeance me or drop me food, and I couldn't use a gravestone in here to come back and grab food off the ground. So instead, yeah, I decided to rely on getting a poison off with a poison dynamite, letting the poison run its course, and then possibly recoiling the last 10 to 15 damage on this NPC to finish it off. But there was a little catch with this boss. It could only hit 8 if I had the proper gear on. I had to have at least 35 kilograms of gear on for this quest, and to do that, I actually had to go ahead and start one of the few quests I have not yet done on this account that I just haven't got around to. Even though I'm close to maxed out quest points on this level 3, I don't quite have them all, and one of these was Pirate Pete's portion of Recipe for Disaster. Actually, the diving apparatus and the fishbowl helmet weigh the most for any tier head slot as well as cape slot, besides the new shell you get later on from this quest, and that's for literally any account. So Really quickly, I went ahead and picked up the diving apparatus and the fishbowl helmet. So I'm going to go ahead and put on 45 kg right now, but I'm still going to add some attack bonus as this original Griffin here is weak to stab, and I'm going to be rolling off stab with poison dynamite. So I'm going to throw on an iron short sword as I can still maintain my shield slot with the iron kite shield here and still have some stab bonus, and the short sword does have some weight to it. Now, if I wasn't so concerned about attack bonus and somehow needed more weight, once again, I could sub out my gloves, which is going to be this region here, for something like rock show gloves, elven gloves. I could even sub out this amulet of glory, which has good attack bonus, for something like a cat speak amulet. And then I could lastly sub out this iron sword for something like a pickaxe. And I could probably max out my kg, just theoretically speaking, to around 60, even though I only need 45. But I did substitute some of the weight for attack bonus, as once again I'll be rolling poison dynamite on this first boss, being the normal Griffin. So off the bat on this first boss, I'm gonna go ahead and super attack pot. As well, I brought some Guthix Rest, and I'm in this heavy gear. So the Griffin here with this heavy gear can once again only hit 8s, so I don't even have to Guthix Rest my HP every time, but the easiest way to do this is going to be to make sure I'm just healed to full and throw some poison dynamites on this NPC. Then I'm going to use the door along with an interface to red X this Griffin whenever he's finally poisoned. This did take a couple of trips of poison dynamite to finally get a hit roll on this NPC, as it does have relatively high defense as well as then the 1 in 4 chance of poison. But once I finally got this into the placement and the poison on it, all I had to do was wait about 10 minutes, then step back out with some Guthix Rest and recoil the remainder of its HP.
Man, did they remove
Further on
ecumenical
into the quest
keys?
came
What
the
the fuck is
Shell
this
Bane
shit?
Griffin. Now, once again, to even take on this boss, I needed 51 Slayer and 45 Sailing. Luckily, I had the Slayer already. I was 63 Slayer from pretty much almost all lamps and just weird activities I've done over the last year or so on this account, and hardly ever actually just training Slayer, so easily had that Slayer requirement. And I think this quest is even going to put me up to 64. Fun fact, but I've actually been sitting AFK a lot of the times while editing my videos at Chambers of Xeric. I'm trying to get that 150 kill count combat achievement, and I've occasionally been getting those dark relics which give me Slayer XP. Over the course of 100 kill count now so far has boosted me from almost 61 to 63 Slayer, and we're almost 64. And once again, I think this quest is going to get us that level if we can figure out how to actually defeat the Shellbane Griffin. This boss is going to be a little bit more difficult, as it does hit over max boostable HP, being 16, as I can only boost to 15 with the Guthix Rest and my 10 HP. Now, the Tortugans in this quest actually do help you kill this boss, but it's kind of like Monkey Madness, but worse. In Monkey Madness, the gnomes help you kill the jungle demon, but they take him down to like 1 health. In this quest, the Tortugans take him down to 20 health. Even though it does have superior new pathing, I figured out this route by going west and north around the tree, that I can get it stuck between 2 objects because it is a larger NPC and it can't decide to go around 2 objects in 2 different directions at the same time. So therefore, even with advanced pathing, the Shellbane Griffin can get stuck in certain areas as well. If I absolutely had to, I'm pretty sure I could red X this boss, but I didn't want to have to go quite there if I didn't need to. So I sat in the safe spot with these Tortugans and waited about, honestly, 8 minutes for them to take it from 400 health down to 20 health. And at that point, they'll just keep hitting zeros. Their hits scale the lower the HP of this boss goes. So even though the boss's HP looked lower and lower, they hit less and less. So I went and I literally left my computer and made a coffee for part of this and came back. Then the boss was ready to actually be ticketed for the last 20 HP. Now, even for the last 20 hit points and ticketing this boss, I'm not going to need purple sweets or anything fancy, but I will have to recognize his new pathing and the fact that he has 3 separate attacks still, even from this distance. Now, obviously, if I was in melee range, he would have 4 attacks and he would just overshot me, unless I did something tricky with a Phoenix necklace or something like that in a stall. But we're a few tiles out in a safe spot and we're taking 1 range attack at a time. Now, if I didn't have him in a safe spot, I could probably just honestly kite around the entire island as well, as this boss only does move at a walking speed, and obviously I can move 2 tiles at a time while the Griffin moves 1 tile at a time. But there's no need for any of that fancy stuff, because all we're going to do right now in this safe spot is I'm going to take 1 step out for each of his attacks until he changes his attacks up. Now, one of these attacks I didn't even know was a thing. He has a bleed attack and it can kill me quite fast. I had no idea what was going on. This was very close to the release at this point, and I thought he only had a gust attack and his range attack from this distance, but in fact no. There was a third one which killed me, so I had to make the trek all the way back to this island, by the way, which is on the very south end of the entire world map. Another 15 minutes back, re-geared, ready to go, and now I know this thing has 3 attacks from a distance, not 2. Basically, all I have to do is dodge the 4 next time and not just stand on it like an idiot. I relured the griffin once again to this spot around the tree, waited for his HP to go down for another 8 minutes, down to 20, to where the Tortugans could no longer actually hit on him. Then I would take one step out at a time. Now before this, I had tested on a main pathing and a way to basically move if I did get the unfortunate gust attack from the Shellbane Griffin, which isn't so unfortunate. It's actually pretty common, especially if I have to walk out in front of this thing between 15 and 20 times. I also decided to keep my HP kind of higher because he can hit higher. So if I'm say 14 out of 15 HP and I tick eat to 15 HP, as you always need to leave 1 HP for the tick eat at least, then he could hit anywhere between a 1 and a 14. And whenever an NPC hits above 10, which is between 10 and 14 for this boss, if I'm tick eating at 14 HP to 15, well, he has a chance of getting recoiled 2 damage instead of 1. So there's less room for me to have to mess with the giant tornadoes that he throws at me, and less attacks in general. I'll have to tick eat from this boss after waiting the super long amount of time and coming all the way south to this part of the world map. So after a few attacks that were normal and were tick eatable, I used my sound effects and could hear whenever he started up his gust attack. This basically just makes you want to move after, I would say 8 ticks it is. I think I moved around 7 ticks to be safe from one tile to another, but I mean, if you constantly move, it's going to follow you from every tile. So I do want to wait a little bit. I'm going to move back 1 tile after 7 ticks. Then after the next set of 7 ticks, I'll move all the way around where the wind attack will then stop finally after about 16 to 20 ticks in total, and then the griffin will start moving with its weird pathing back from one side to the other because it's trying to get unstuck.
Rendy
is
the scientist of this game. He's like RuneScapeologist.
So many objects, and I wanted to get this quest done as soon as possible because of this, that it can still be safe spotted. Maybe they didn't want it to be safe spotted, maybe they'll change it later on, but right now it is safe spottable even with its advanced pathing and even moving from spot to spot. So although it's safe spottable, I do have to go ahead and prepare myself for a quick 1 to 2 tick tick eat while moving to the spot, as well as when waiting for the griffin to then path to the other side of this next tree, and from here tick eat once again, and then as he comes back to the southeastern side, I'll then move back to the north side of that tree and step out 1 attack at a time, tick eating all of these attacks and hoping he doesn't throw any more gust attacks at me. And if he does, I'll just once again repeat the process. Hopefully he'll hit a 10 plus for 2 damage instead of 1, so I have to step out less times at the end of this fight once again. And there you have it. That's how I finally killed the Shellbane Griffin on attempt number 2 of this boss fight, and this quest was completed. I did get 64 Slayer through this quest, as well as some sailing XP, which is great because once again we're going for an end goal of 66 sailing. As well, very soon here I'm going to upgrade my boat at 50 sailing, which is going to allow for 2 salvaging spots to be added to the boat. And in the 50s, things start to pick up pace a bit. I can start hiring crew members to man the salvaging spots. I can eventually go to the large salvaging spots to pick up some salvage there and get more XP. I want to train this as AFK as possible. I have things I'm doing in real life, and if I can multitask, that's great. Why not take the salvaging route rather than running trials and doing water agility? In my opinion, that's the best way to train this skill, is not even have to look at it. So now that we had the quest complete,
so I've been super dry for the unfinished Bolts Off Forecast and Ecumenical Keys, so that means I'm going to get my Armor Plate Skirt definitely this task. We'll never do this stupid bird again.
Neve, those require 70 combat, I believe 85 combat. Obviously I'm 3 combat, so I can't go up to those masters and ask for that task. So unfortunately the only route to do this, maybe there's 2, but the first idea, even though the Shellbane Griffin only requires 51 Slayer, is to get 99 Slayer. And that's because with the Slayer Cape you can take a task from any master no matter the combat stat. That's part of the Slayer Cape perk. It's literally going to require 99 Slayer to take consistent Shellbane Griffin task, which is a 51 Slayer boss. That, or there's another possible method I've heard about. I'm not sure if this is true or not yet, but there is an elite clue step that you actually get that requires you to kill the Shellbane Griffin. And some people say you don't need the actual task to go do it. You just need to show the clue to the person outside the cave to get inside and attempt to kill this boss. Now, I don't know if you can keep attempting to kill it on this elite clue, or if your elite clue is just destroyed if you fail, because I've never been inside this cave. It's instanced. And if you could actually get in here like all the other Slayer monsters without having the task, it would be great, because then I could do something like I did in my Raxor video and possibly kill with all neutral damage, since it's a boss in an instanced area. But unfortunately, unlike the older Slayer monsters, this one, they totally restrict you from even going inside the cave and attempting it without ever attacking it, whereas with other Slayer monsters, you just can't hit on them if you don't have the Slayer task for them or the Slayer level for them. We're gonna have to postpone this for another day. I might test that elite clue theory if I want to get, you know, on the high scores. You know, maybe there will be some remedial combat tasks in the future that I can take on for this boss, although it is immune to poison, it's immune to venom. It's not immune to recoil though, but it will overhit my HP. It would be an interesting fight to test. I don't know how to do it. I haven't even looked at it, but I feel like it would be something like Perilous Moons on steroids, and relatable but not relatable to that, because it's instance. I'm the only one who can actually go inside that cave. No one can help me, and this thing has 400 hit points. Once again, the only way for me to really consistently get elite clues, unless there's some new way with sailing, is to buy dragon implings and open them over and over and over again. So on that note, if you want to come donate some dragon implings or some money, I have a text channel in my Discord that literally is called Dragon Impling / boosting donations. Come in, give me your money if you want to. I tried all these different things, as I thought maybe there would be a way to log back in to where my character was at. One of these ways was I tried teleporting and interfacing off the boat, where I was like half on the boat, half off of it. It thought I was still in the boat. People could still join my boat until I teleported, and then they could stay on it and even commandeer it. My idea behind this was to teleport to wherever, say even Apatol. Maybe whenever you relog, you follow back onto the player, kind of like how you would relog back onto the boat if you hopped out of the world and back in.
So after running several different types of tests with this method, and even ones using the Ring of Life, thinking that might change something here, I did have my friend attempt to log out and log back in and hope that it would place him where I teleported to, but unfortunately this just didn't happen, or else yeah, we would have access to a lot more places, possibly even in this video, such as
Oh my god, finally.
any other place you can directly teleport to off
Well,
of a
we
boat.
still need to get
Visually,
like
you
4
can see
more,
that
so.
I was able to get the boat thinking
And
it
they
was
get
still
progressively
there,
more
even after
rare, but I
teleporting
feel like
and
this
physically
first
being
key
in a
I would
different
just
remote location,
hella
but
dry.
all had failed.
I
and
should have
would
gotten
need
it
to
way
return back
earlier,
to
like,
get
I've got
66 sailing.
So I got
Will
back to
the
sailing, and
diaries,
I decided
right,
to
the
make
hard
some
one,
improvements,
which
obviously,
helps
to my
with that.
salvaging. I no longer want to use a steel salvaging hook. I probably want to get a crew together, get the better boat at level 50, and pick up where I left off and start AFKing once
I don't
again,
have
because the
any
best way to train
bank
this skill
space.
is to not even have to look at it.
Wow.
I was going to eventually make it all the way to
Okay.
66 sailing, but at around 57 sailing, I got bored. I took a quick break and decided to go use these steel cannons I earlier installed on this new ship, as well as fire Jobless Jim, as I could now hire Adventurer Ada at 55 sailing along with Captain Side, which have decent privateering levels. Bought a bunch of steel cannonballs and rode out north this time to Mogers near the west coast of Brimhaven. And these Mogers, once again, they do drop flippers, they do drop Moger hats, which are both collection log slots. They both look cool. Moger hat's a 1 in 30 chance, the flippers are a 1 in 60 chance, and I can use these NPCs to control the cannons and fire at the Mogers from a distance while they hit my ship. I just repair my ship, and I never actually attack them, never get any XP on my level 3. I only get the sailing XP because the crewmates I'm commanding are the ones firing the cannon. I obviously disabled the fire button on the Ruin Light plugin, because if I ever did click fire on the cannon while around the Mogers, I would get range as well as sailing XP, and pretty much ruin my entire account.
Well, no. Because he has no ranged, what Settled found out is you can't even hit with one range, because your sailing combat with the cannons actually are going off of your range level, which Settled found out. So something Settled found out before Rendy. It's weird. Would have thought like Rendy would have saw that, because I think Settled put that video up before Rendy put this out. I don't know.
Since it is once again a level 3. So instead we had Captain Syed and Adventurer Ada on the cannons firing at the Mogers, but I realized they only fire at them from one side, so the other person was pretty much useless. until I found this amazing strategy here. I built an anchor on my boat, threw it in the ground, and navigated my boat where I could turn it but not sail it, and I basically just turned one side to the other every 3 ticks. One person would fire the cannon, the next person would fire the cannon. Rather than waiting 4 ticks between each of the cannon fires, it was firing every 2 ticks and stacking the cannonballs as long as I had the Moger just to the back side of my boat. This allowed for obviously double the speed of normal kills on these Mogers, but it still was kind of a slow process, and eventually I decided to just keep AFKing it with one side of the boat and the steel cannons on the Mogers. This was much easier than actually taking on the mini quest and then throwing explosive vials and setting up a cannon with interfaces, trying to spawn hit it, risk range XP, and it just looked cool. The fact that I'd never started the Moger mini quest and it was red logged in my quest journal despite having full Moger outfit, as they might once again see this and say, hey, maybe we should make people complete the mini quest that was intended for this gear again, like it had been for the last 20 years. Who knows if they'll change that around or what, but eventually after going extremely dry, I did get 4 Moger hats and only 1 pair of flippers at around 200 KC, even though it's a 1 in 60 chance, and I did this on mobile as once again I decided to go the AFK route, and then took my ship, fired Ada, recruited Jobless Jim back on it, did some more salvaging out to the very southern part of the map to where I picked up from 57 to 66 sailing.
As a side note, while doing all of my salvaging with crew members, I also decided to go to Chapa Island, obviously, to get the salvaging blueprints. That was a trek in itself. And from here, I had all the equipment I needed to salvage at all these different salvaging spots, from large salvage shipwrecks, from Barracuda salvage shipwrecks, and eventually at the very end, pirate salvage shipwrecks. From Barracuda and from large shipwrecks, I did get the unique because I had my crew members doing all the salvaging for me, taking an only fractional amount of XP. And because I got these artifacts, I was able to then go ahead and turn those in at the Varrock Museum with Curator Hagen to get even more XP lamps, which I once again used on Slayer, and now even got almost another Slayer up to level 65 off of. These artifacts are one-time uses on Curator Hagen, and therefore I can only get 1 XP lamp from all the tiers of different shipwrecks. But for the whole thing, I think I can get around 78,000 free.
That reminds me, I still have like $15 from my level 87 to 99 sailing grind. I have yet to use that, but I believe that's like a 20,000 experience turn-in thingy, so maybe I'll use that on rune crafting, I guess.
XP if I decide to pull every single unique collection log artifact from all of the salvaging areas throughout 1 to 99 sailing. Yes, I did miss the small shipwrecks earlier on, but maybe I can go back to those someday and get yet another artifact from those. Lastly, I did pull the Sailor's Amulet pretty early on, which allows teleports around the world map to certain ports that I can dock from. This is a great bonus to the account, and once again, teleports on this account are hard to come by, so I'll take it. I did charge this amulet, and I was a little bit scared after hearing the news about the Medallion of the Deep giving magic XP, but I just pretty much said fuck it, went balls to the wall, and put some law runes and water runes into it, and voila, no magic XP, no failed account here today. And I guess that means I'm still going to have to continue making content.
Now getting 66 sailing, I could finally go test the method that's going to be the finale for this video. So I got my friend, pulled up on his boat with him, and we made our way out to Port Tyrus to see if I could possibly get into Zolandra and maybe even take on Zulra as a level 3 combat eventually. Now, if I can do that, I'm definitely not doing that in this video because that's going to take me like months to figure out. Anyways, let's see what happens. So as you can see, after making this long trek out here and trying every method with Entrana's armor without the sailing level, and even now without the quest requirement being regicide for this port, I could not relog back onto the port my friend had docked at. Now currently I double checked to see if the original method was patched where you could relog at the last port they were at if you did have the quests done and the sailing level requirement, and you could. So there is a specific check, unfortunately, for the quest as well as the sailing level, and as well even on Intrana for armor and weapons. That's just because, well, this skill has been in development for almost upwards of 3 years, has been tested by JMods for years, has been tested by players in alpha and beta, and honestly I'm not that surprised that something like this didn't get past them. Overall, there were very few bugs that got past Jagex, and pretty much the only one was just being able to act like.
But now that I think of it, Settled could learn off of this video of, like, he wanted to train range so he could do, she calls it, well, actually, I don't know if he's 50 sailing. I'm gonna have to look back at that last video, but he could set his Brosif on the cannon, and his Brosif could probably do better damage than him until a certain range threshold. I don't know the math on that. Have yet to, like, even fire my cannons on my ship. They've been decorative throughout my whole grind to one from 99.
you're still on the ship.
And I have a
and
dragon
friend
barrel
come into your
cannon.
boat with a
I don't
weird
think I'm
ring
gonna
life
build it
teleport,
yet until they
as
fix
well as
it.
an
The
interface after that
combat.
teleport.
That
and
is.
then the only other one I found besides that was obviously the one shown in the last video, and that was using the Ring of Life teleport once again, but this time to haul cargo at early levels for very high XP per hour. And if you want to check that video out, I'll link that down in the description below, as well as the entire level 3 one of one playlist that includes all kinds of crazy goals I've overcame on this level 3 account. If you're new here, if you're just now seeing this series, there's a lot you've missed, and although I've covered a lot today, there's some much more crazier things that I've definitely done in the past on this account and that I hope to do in the future. So once again, if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to the channel, leave me a positive comment, press the join button below. We're shooting for 4,000 join members so that me and my wife, who is currently under my desk still, can finally rise above the desk and show herself, and we can get married finally and live happily ever after. She's still right here. Like, she's been here the whole time. She's still here. So if you guys want to, like, help her get on her feet again, literally, please join for 99 cents. That's all it takes. Just 4,000 of you. That's it. That's all I ask. All right.
It's like
I'll see
400
you all
bucks,
again soon.
bro. Well, now I want to see more of what he's done previously. What the hell? Testing C. He's leveled sailing without sailing. Okay.
Sailing. Some of us love it, some of us hate it, but most of us love it. At first, it wasn't quite my cup of tea, so I decided to figure out a way to train sailing without actually ever sailing.
Yes. Wait.
Hello everyone, my name's Rendy, and today we're going to be
Do
going
we get
on
a back-to-back,
journey on how I
back-to-back?
figured out
No.
sailing without ever sailing. The methods I describe in
Okay.
today's video can get you probably upwards of 100,000 XP per hour at higher levels, and is extremely bannable, so I would suggest never touching this or doing it, and everything you see in today's video was bug reported as well. And that's why I went ahead and tested this method, as well as did it on an account I hardly had ever used, which was one I used in the testing of trying to negate King's Ransom XP. So this account was perfect for the job, because what we're doing today revolves around having to have specific
Get
spawn points.
one
And because I
more.
had
One
done
more. I
King's
could get
Ransom, I
5,
was
but
able
let's
to
get
actually
like
set
at least
Camelot as a
3 for
spawn
this
point
grind
on this
tonight.
very terrible account I once again didn't care anything about. Now, originally I was a critic of sailing. I didn't like the aesthetic of it. I thought it sounded like a terrible skill, and that's why the first thing I did whenever I got on after the update was to look for ways to not have to physically sail. I know, I'm a bit stubborn. I found out later on my level 3, which I will showcase a new video on in the coming week, that sailing isn't so bad once you hit a certain level, but the early levels of sailing are really what hits hard. And most people do agree with me here, I believe, that the early sailing game
Wait,
is
why was there no
extremely
bandits
slow
there that time?
unless you decide to
The
never
fuck?
sail. So eventually we're probably going to be able to train
Or-
sailing with lamps and early quest reward XP.
They
And
must
there are
actually
some
normally
quests
be
currently
in the
out for
bandit
sailing
camp
right
and
now that
somehow
do
walk
reward
out
small
and get
amounts of
like
sailing
right
in
there,
Pandemonium
I'm
at level
assuming?
1, which gets
By
you a little bit of
people
sailing
like
XP
manually
up to
kiting
level
them out,
4,
I'd assume.
as
I
well
don't
as
think
there's
they
another
actually
sailing quest
wandered
around
that
level
far.
12, and then there's some even later on, but still these are minimal XP rewards, and lamps are still locked to the sailing skill. I decided maybe there was a way to pick this pace up a bit on an entirely different account, one that once again has either already medium diary specifically, or the King's Ransom and Knight's training waves done to set the spawn point to either Camelot or the center of Ardoin.
A huge part of the early gains in sailing is doing some charting. There are some ways to actually now get on friends' boats. People have found out trim the sails on those higher level sails and boats to get more XP, as well as just take them on charting journeys to get the low levels out of the way. But this was even more efficient than that. To get started, you would need 20 sailing, so you could go ahead and hop on someone's boat for a little bit and chart some things, as well as do the 2 very beginning quests, or even 3 if you have 30 smithing and knight's sword. But you would need 20 sailing to get this method started. When sailing came out, the whole go-to was to pick up 1 cargo and transport it in your boat in the cargo hold from one port to another. The problem with this is the distance between each port and the sail on your boat is so bad at low levels that it would take a very long time to get from one side of the map to the other. And some of these early shipping tasks were even from, let's say, Camelot all the way to Piscarillis and Zea on the other side of the map. That would be like a half-hour journey sometimes to complete, all for 900 to 1200 sailing XP. And the shorter journeys, which still weren't short at all, were only rewarding between 70 and 300 sailing XP, especially at these lower levels. So the early sailing game up till, I would say, almost level 40 is looking very rough, and that's why I decided to, well, try and implement a new method and just see if it would work in theory. But it brought a little life to the early game of sailing for me personally, and I enjoyed figuring this out. Like I said earlier, when you get these shipments to move from one port to the other, you have to sail with them and put them in your cargo hold. And this is because you have to pick it up with your hands, and then once you move away from the port, the SWAT team after about 5 seconds will come and take the cargo crate away from your character. As well, if you die with one of these crates, it is an automatically deleted on death item, so you can't take it anywhere on death. You can't even teleport with one of these things equipped, and you can't unequip the crate and hold it in your inventory or bank it. But one check that got past Jagex and that I realized in the first couple of days within this update was that you could Ring of Life actually and still hold the crate. Quick shout out to no one but myself because I'm the sponsor of today's video. If you enjoy this content, at the end of the video, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a positive comment, maybe even press the join button for 99 cents. I am planning on streaming here in likely a few weeks still, and the join button will be very important for this. It's like the Twitch subscriber button, but 5 times cheaper, okay? So a reasonable goal I want to make here is 4,000 members on my YouTube channel through that join button. What should I say?
What do you mean? What are you trying to say?
I'm gonna monetize you.
What the fuck?
Like if I hit this goal, I'll show you the person I'm marrying who's living currently under my desk. And I will reveal to you one of the most famous RuneScape
girls
that is currently living under my desk. Oh, and you'll be funding our wedding by doing this. So 4,000 join button members, and you get to see who I'm marrying.
No, it's about 4,000.
I'm monetizing my relationship. For some reason, the Ring of Life would still proc and it would still teleport. Unlike other areas where all teleports are blocked, the Ring of Life is also blocked. For some reason, with this specific item, it was not teleport blocked with the Ring of Life and the Ring of Life only. So typically, if my spawn was in Lumbridge or Edgeville or Falador, I wouldn't be close to any ports, and I would still have this 5-second rule to where the recovery team would come and collect the cargo off of me if I wasn't in a certain map square area of a port. But there are 2 spawn points specifically I found that did have maybe a possibility of making it back to port within 5 seconds or close to it before that SWAT team arrived. And that was the respawn point with the Ring of Life at either Camelot near the teleport spot and running to Catherby Port, or in Artie after Artie Medium Diaries.
Back to
Artie
back,
which looked
let's
like
go.
An even shorter trek, but I had no accounts with the Artie Medium Diary
right, let's go.
requirements. So we're gonna have to go with Camelot today, but in theory, this whole method would have worked with Artie. Artie is also a higher level requirement, being 30 or 35, whereas Camelot is only 20. So you can get started earlier with this method at Camelot at level 20 with Knight's Training Ground, or you can wait till the higher levels to do Artie and possibly get a significantly larger chunk of XP, especially per hour. So at first, this account didn't even have a rock cake. I was having to use these Araxite Venom Sacs and eat up and make sure I didn't die, because these can actually overshot your HP, unlike the orb or the rock cake and most other self-damage inflicting items in the game. But with these Venom Sacs, I would have to make sure to eat between each HP, get my HP below 20% to trigger that Ring of Life, and then head to my respawn point, and from there, book it to the nearest dock. There was a problem I found out quickly though, and that was the nearest dock to Camelot teleport was not even close to being within that 5 to 10 second range before the SWAT team came and confiscated the crate off of my now portless character. But there was still one other trick up my sleeve that would possibly allow for me to get all the way to the port
from still a closer teleport spot such as this. And that was interface walking. Interface walking I've used in many videos in the past, but it's been changed over the years many times, patched many times, and now it can pretty much only be used one time to get to your destination. How you do it currently is by using one object on another object, but now it can't be used multiple times in a row because whenever you use this item in your inventory on the object, it cuts out all interfaces and dialogues for exactly one tick, basically killing all actions you might have stacked behind the interface on your player. So I would have to run within the first 5 to 10 seconds to a visible range of an object that is close to or in the port range area of Catherby port, and then use that item in my inventory on the object in a one-click motion, then interface after one tick but before the SWAT team came to get my cargo crate, and make it all the way therefore with my interface walk to the dock. Now I was a little bit concerned with this method because I thought the SWAT team would be queued on me even though I was interfaced, but in fact it only checks where you're at the exact second you release the interface, and the SWAT team doesn't come and get your cargo crate as long as you're back inside the port's area of bounds. So I mapped out specifically Catherby port to see exactly what of the cargo area was specifically cargo, and that was to the west of the boat, to the north of the fence going into the dock, and to the east of the most eastern boat. So I could go within any of these area of bounds, and as long as I released the interface here with the cargo on my character, the SWAT team would not come and confiscate what I was wielding, and therefore I could then use another 5 to 10 seconds to either go around from this object here north back into the port, or I could use my interface walk directly on an object if I was close enough that would already put me in port the second I released that interface, and therefore I could freely walk to deposit the cargo and get the full XP from that cargo shipment as if I had taken it all the way on a boat from one port to another, which would have taken anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes. As my levels got higher, I unlocked even higher port tasks and more XP tasks. Now the task board where I would take these cargo shipment tasks would change every 8 tasks, but I found out in these ports there's always an option on the task board for either one, taking a shipment from where you're located to another port, or another port that locates back to your shipment. And if you take that shipment on the port board you're currently at, that is from a faraway port that you have to go to, and then come back to the port you're currently at, it will actually reward you quite a bit more XP. So in Catherby, for example, I would take the port tasks that were starting from a further distance, and then I would teleport or charter ship, go pick up that crate, self-inflict damage, ring of life, run for 5 to 10 seconds, then interface walk to the port and turn in that cargo back to Catherby port for the most XP. And I could do this as fast as 30 seconds for a 300 to 500 XP drop, and repeat, continue, grab more rings of life out of the bank, grab more stamina potions out of the bank. Eventually I got a rock cake, so I didn't have to keep eating trout and monitoring my HP, because rock cake will never kill you, but it will always proc the ring of life there. So it streamlined the process a little bit more, but there were a couple other issues I ran into. Sometimes whenever I would ring of life back to the Catherby spawn point, I wouldn't be able to see objects and right click them due to a RuneLite update that basically followed in line with Jagex's plugin policies and an update to that many years ago. Before, RuneLite used to actually render with the GPU plugin objects further out that you could see, and you could right click them and interact with them from much further away. But after this policy update by Jagex, they removed that feature from the GPU plugin, and although you can right click further out than without the GPU plugin on initially, you can't click all the way to the visible site of objects you originally could. Earlier things such as OS Buddy also had OpenGL, which was one of the first GPU plugins, where you could actually right click objects that were hundreds of tiles away from your character. But now with this update and the compliant RuneLite client, I can't always get a right click on these objects to use an item on them within the 5 to 10 second range before the SWAT team shows up. So this method did become a little RNG dependent. I tried to mitigate this by finding objects that were closer, that were just barely in the square area of the port, such as on the outskirts, but it always had a chance of rendering me whenever I spawned into the Camelot spawn point of never seeing these objects within the 5 to 10 second mark, sometimes at the last split tick, not giving me a tick to then wait for the interface walk to establish after that first tick of cancellation. So I'd say there was about a 20% chance that I would spawn in and not be able to reach an object and interface walk all the way to it, and at that point I would just have to go back, charter the ship, and grab the cargo again and hope for that 80% chance of seeing the objects on my initial teleport into the spawn point. I tried to mitigate this through other means, such as by using eddy seeds and moving myself east while still having an interface up by doing so, but there are so many objects in this Catherby port. This may have been possible in other places like Arty, but here, with all the ground objects, trees, and everything else around, I couldn't have a clearance of moving far enough east from an initial object that was within my rendered distance. As well, I tried using my item on other objects that were just outside of the area and stepping in, but unfortunately it tracked your true tile the second your interface exited out, not the tick after. Another thing that works with this interface walking is ground items and using an object on those. So I tried something such as a beginner clue scroll, which lasts an hour on the ground, and using my item from my inventory on that. But I forgot that ground items only have a visible range of 15 tiles, even with GPU mode on like this, and therefore that would never work, me trying to get inside that 15 tile range within the 5 to 10 second window before getting my cargo confiscated. And my last attempt at mitigating this 20% or so RNG check was to use an object like a mithril seed or a cannon base on tiles that were possibly within my render object use range, but that were on the cusp of it and visible to me. Unfortunately, I found out that objects you place on the floor, such as a flower, has even less of a visible range than ones that are always put on the map, so this also didn't work. At the end of the day, we had to accept that 20% chance of failure on respawn with the rock cake and the ring of life, and that we would just get our crate confiscated over and over again on this unlucky phase. So even at level 20 sailing, by accepting the tasks on the notice board that weren't even that far away, you could be getting about a task done on average every 40 seconds or so, and about 350 XP per task, putting us at almost about 40,000 XP per hour at extremely low sailing levels, which whenever I was doing sailing legitimately on my other account and even on this account at first, I was getting like 4,000 sailing XP per hour. So we're 10xing our sailing XP per hour at very low levels here. And although this might not work for long, you know, and I wouldn't suggest doing it for sailing at this level, it's impeccable. And if you get a medium arty diary done and change your spawn point to arty, which I didn't have the time or the skills or anything like that for this account to do that, I feel like you could optimize this method for a lot more XP per hour. Not to mention, you'll randomly get those tasks that are on the other side of the map in Zaya, where it wants you to retrieve something from Piscarilia's port at level 25 sailing, and those tasks seem to reward anywhere from 900 to 1500 sailing XP, which you're going to be able to do 8 times in a row, so it's like an extra bonus of 10,000 XP per hour on average. So this could push this up to maybe even 50,000 XP per hour starting at level 25 sailing. So at 20 sailing, we're looking at an average of probably 40,000 XP per hour if max efficiency. 25 sailing, looking at maybe an extra 10,000 bonus XP per hour, so 50,000 XP per hour. Once you get to 35 sailing and arty ports, and you're getting those Piscarilius tasks on top of just normal tasks back and forth to arty that have an increased bonus as well. The arty respawn point has a shorter run, about half of that from the Camelot to the Catherby, and 0 chance of RNG based failures because the port is so close by. You'll always get an object in your line of sight on the arty center map respawn. And with this method and arty medium diary completed, you'd be looking at about 70 to 80,000 sailing XP per hour at maximum efficiency using this method without ever sailing. Obviously, at higher levels, there's other methods that are better, more AFK, such as salvaging, I've found out, and this does get very repetitive, and let's be honest, it won't be around for much longer. And once again, I don't suggest doing this, but the whole matter of fact and the point of this video was the journey getting there and how I dissected possibly a new method for sailing on the release day that never involves sailing, and just the comedy behind something like that. And that's me carrying a massive crate, inflicting damage on myself, teleporting to a respawn point with a ring, and then running as fast as I can back to a port just for some decent sailing XP at low levels. Once again, if you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, a positive comment, and join my channel for only 99 cents. It helps fund this channel, helps me not have to rely on sponsors, and at 4,000 members, yeah, we're monetizing our relationship once again. So I'll see you all next week.
Alright, keep watching. I'm hooked. Monkey Madness without food or prayer. Lowest combat via RSC Underground Pass. Wait, has Settled made any new? I want to see if he did any more sailing vids. Probably does one like once a month, I feel. No, it's been 2 weeks. Defense Pier, pushing this boss 1,000 tiles. I want to see this.
Hello everyone, my name is Rendy, and this is the Level 3 1 of 1 series, where we take on all kinds of challenges as a Level 3 combat account, being the lowest combat in old school RuneScape. This account already has a collection of over 25 achievements that no other level 3 skiller in the game has. The whole basis of this series is to make the most unique account possible, and right now, we're focusing on some combat achievements that once again, no other level 3 in the game has. Yeah, we have a Fire Cape at level 3. Yeah, we have Mortania access at level 3. Yeah, we have Firminic Trials access at level 3. Yeah, we have the Hard Hill at level 3 that no one else has. Yeah, there's a lot of these things. We have a Raxor Casey. We're only 63 Slayer with it too. We're rank 1 on the boss high scores for skillers for a lot of these bosses. We've also completed multiple quest bosses that no one else has at this combat. So we're on a journey to make the impossible possible once again in today's episode. If you all want to check out what all of these achievements are, I'll put a link to the level 3 1 of 1 playlist below where you can see all of these achievements in detail and how they were overcame with quite literally no combat stats. So I pride myself on being sort of a unique strategist in a unique game, and that's what we're doing again today by pushing an NPC across the entire world map. Yeah. What we're going to be doing today is I wanted to get this combat achievement done for quite some time, but I want to push the crazy archaeologist across the entire wilderness to the Fountain of Ruin. That might take a little bit of time.
This might be why
It's been
those
done before, I know,
bandits
with the
are
Chaos
like
Fanatic.
on
I'm
the
pretty sure
way
it has
to
been done
Godward's
before this
dungeon.
boss as well, but no one's completed this combat achievement in this way. So if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe to the channel, leave me a positive comment if you enjoyed the video, and be prepared to have your mind possibly blown, as this involved a lot of unique strategies and occurrences even that I myself didn't even know happened in this game. Before I push this crazy guy 1,000 tiles across a massive landmass inside of this game, I have a very important announcement, and that is Surf's Up, and Surfshark is the sponsor of today's video.
Is that a cringe enough transition? Do I need to redo that one?
Surfshark is a VPN. If you don't know what a VPN is, you're probably on the wrong channel, but it masks your public IP across the internet. I use my VPN across many sites for better online deals, web security, and most importantly, when I start creating too many RuneScape accounts, well, I get blocked out of their web browser and have to switch IPs and make some more on a different IP. Jagex actually detects many VPNs on their website and blocks you out of their system when creating accounts or logging into accounts, but with Surfshark, most of their hosted IPs don't seem to be detected, and therefore I'm allowed to log in on the website
don't
without
bring
blocking me
stamina
out entirely
potions.
and thinking that I'm
Yeah, I don't bring stamina potions for this boss. Normally, I'm freezing the melee minion. Yeah, we have him. It's Flight Kalisa. We do our two-way swap, staff, occult, and then I barrage them, and then I gain some distance, go back to crossbow, keep on shooting Kree, and yeah, I CBA'd fucking most of my, what is my KC actually? KC Kree. Over 1,000, and most of that is literally just how I'm doing it now with Dragon, well, Diamond Bolts. Like, since I don't got an ACB, I mean, I gotta make up for it in the ammo department. Yeah, we're still hunting the legs that this guy drops, and then I can finally be done with this fucking boss. It's fucking cursed ass KC, and I think I've gotten 2 armor chest plates and like 2 helmets. It's disgusting. I'd be happy with a pet. That'd be cool. That'd be like 3 God Wars pets. I've got Bando's pet and Sarah pet. That might have cursed my grind for getting ACB at Sarah. Anyways, back
on
to
a
Rendy.
VPN despite being on a VPN.
It also protects you from public Wi-Fi dangers, and yes, you can use Surfshark on an unlimited amount of devices. Surfshark also offers other products like their antivirus software. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're unsatisfied with any of their products.
So what are you waiting for? If you're in the market for a VPN or if you've been considering one for a long time, I seriously recommend Surfshark. Use my link in the description below, surfshark.com/RendyVPN, or use code RendyVPN at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. So we're pushing this bad boy. Luckily, he's a 1x1 NPC, so he can be de-speared all the way across the wilderness to the Fountain of Ruin. And this is because at the Fountain of Ruin, you get no magic XP. And there is a combat achievement task that gives a whole 2 points to this level 3 account. Once again, we're trying to do them all just for the hell of it, not because of the points. And this combat achievement involves killing the crazy archaeologist with magic damage only. So how do we do this? How do we get the crazy archaeologist from the southwest corner of low-level wilderness all the way to the opposite side of the wilderness in the northeast corner at the Fountain of Ruin? How do we kill it with such a low magic level? And how do we overcome this task and make sure that no other form of damage touches the crazy archaeologist, other than that being magic damage? Well, I'm about to break down the whole thing for you, and let me just tell you, it was not easy in the slightest. What I thought initially would not be so bad turned out to be terrible. This always happens, okay? You expect the best and you receive the worst. That's just life. It's all terrible. So I had to bond up a few alts. When I say a few, I mean like 5. I found 5 accounts I had with 60 attack. I gave them all light bearers, so they had 2x special attack regen, and some dragon spears. I placed them near the outside edge of the crazy archaeologist's aggro zone towards the northeast side of his ruins in the wilderness. I called upon a friend again at first for this one, and that was Scurious. We had been formulating a plan for quite some time now. In its raw, ugliest form, here's what it looked like. I realized I would need like 7 accounts to make sure I could always change the placement of them and push the crazy archaeologist to make sure he did not start walking backwards. That's because the crazy archaeologist, if left unattended from the west and south side, will start walking back to his spawn point. Sometimes he will even go north at first and then back west to where he was originally spawning. So we would need an immense amount of body blockers, and there would have to be a way to cycle them in a phalanx type pattern to where this crazy archaeologist was never left unattended at a singular moment. So as you can see in these early diagrams I sent to Scurious, I was like, yeah, we always need to have someone move back this way every time we spear it, and we have to move with it while it's stunned while spearing. With one of the accounts we can curse Goblin Hammer some of it even to move up towards it without messing it up and stepping in its body from the south. There were all kinds of weird plans, but when you get down and dirty with it, a lot of things end up changing. Strategy, but execution's totally different. So initially with my attempt with Scurious, I would take one of these alts and pull this all the way to the east side and then to the north, spear it into the alts to the east, eventually trying to get it hooked and protected from the south and west sides. We had a lot of accounts here at this point. I think Scurious had 4, I had 5, so we had 9 alts. Kind of probably overkill now looking back at it. We just tried to make sure this NPC was blocked at all times from the north, west, and south, once again, as he could not move east anyways because he's not naturally able to move east to go back to a spawn point that exists in the southwest of the map. Is anyone transparent?
I don't think so.
How come he keeps... How is he able to fucking do that, bro?
Oh, he just...
Why is he going
Oh,
sideways? And then, yeah, okay.
And now I hit him with... there we go. Yeah. Oof. Boom. Hey, we moved him a step.
Special attack actually wasn't a worry at all because we had so many accounts, we always had the special attack, and spear only takes 25% every time you push this NPC. A lot of our problems were just repositioning ourselves after every push and not getting all scrambled around, as well as dealing with NPCs in the wilderness that were attacking our alts that were trying to push this thing, and as well as people just running through us occasionally, or possibly PKing us, because this was going to be like a 2.5 hour push to the northeast side of the wilderness, because this all took time and very careful precision to achieve. At any time we could accidentally not press the special attack bar and hit this NPC, for instance, with a spear without the special attack, because the special attack doesn't do real damage, so it's not melee, but if you were to hit him with a spear and damage him, it would fail that magic combat task. Also, before we even initially started pushing the boss, we decided to kill him at the ruins to respawn him, because if anyone has ever at any point damaged the archaeologist with anything other than magic damage, it's already ruined this task, so a fresh respawn was necessary. So we started getting him in the path of pushing him, just trying to figure out how to maneuver this, and we were doing it actually quite well, although very slow this first time around. We spent around 3 hours doing this. We realized the directional pathing of spearing is quite weird, and it depends on if there are real objects and not people around based on which way this NPC will go. For instance, if you push the NPC from an account directly to the west of him, he will end up going always diagonal northeast, as long as there is not an object there. If you push him from the south, he will end up going northwest, not directly north. So he always goes in a diagonal weird type of pattern, not in straight lines, which didn't help us at all and honestly confused the hell out of us at first while pushing this guy. Yeah, okay, send it on 7.5.
Okay, so
Yeah, see what he does. Nothing. Okay, then send it on fucking... He has to go north, right? Like, but...
northwest.
Ooh, that's kind of fucked.
That's okay though. That worked out really well.
Fine. It's fine. Wait, so it's gonna go northwest if I hit it on mule, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck moving the sheep to the G. We moved the fucking crazy archaeologist to the fucking Fountain of Ruin.
If you push him from the north side of his body, he will go southeast instead of directly south. And lastly, if you push him from the east side of his body, he will go northwest instead of directly west. So after figuring out how he moved after pushing him on each of these sides, we tried maneuvering him around objects, which did slightly alter his trajectory and made him move in straight lines around some rocks, but eventually we would always path our accounts back to move in diagonal patterns, separating each other by about one tile where the archaeologist would go between us. We got this pattern down, and it was a weird parallel diagonal line throughout this entire journey. Our main goal at first was to get him to the gate north, so then we could just focus on just pushing him in a straight line east, because the gate itself is an object and it will block everything that moves him diagonal to that northern side. But to get to that gate, that was the real problem here, because all of the routes to get to the gate, whether we were to go northwest, we would encounter burning amulet teleports, as well as people running to the KBD and to the Chaos Altar. And if we were to go northeast, we would be going through Revenant Cave area, which is also very dangerous, as well as moss giants. Originally, we took the northwest option, so once we got far enough east and north, we decided to book it northwest, which was honestly a bad idea because bots were just going to be running through our accounts on their way to the Chaos Altar, as well as we would encounter real people asking us what the fuck we were doing, which is pretty understandable, honestly, in this case scenario.
The only issue is that we're gonna run.
I think we need to go like. Wait, you want to go west?
I gotta hit this thing. It's fucking.
Oh,
I mean, we could do northeast until we start touching some dragons, and then fucking.
and then we hit it from the south to where it goes northwest.
Is
there a gap? Is there a gap like?
No, dude. No,
like
it's
between
3 fucking dragons.
like between here and the Revenant Caves, like if you take it to the lava wall, is there a gap of dragons?
No, it's the dragons are touching the lava wall, bro.
So we should probably just start going northwest now then, so we go the other way.
Yeah, fuck it.
And then we start hitting it from the south to the northwest spot. So after about an hour figuring out what the hell's going on, we adjusted our accounts to go more west as well, then back to the northeast, and finally ran into a few people, had a few situations where we thought we had lost the crazy archaeologist, but in fact regained his position.
Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Oh, he's fucking us.
Oh my
God.
god.
What is this dude doing?
One south, one south. Fuck!
Wait, he stopped. Oh my god.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Oh my fucking god!
Oh, he stopped.
Block him.
I fucked him up. Get on his west side. There you go. Dude, he stops after like 3 times.
So we got him to the gate eventually after convincing several people to leave us alone, which honestly I was surprised because they respectfully did this. And I think the RuneScape community as they get older has actually been quite nicer, because it's like, what are they going to get by killing us or fucking this up? Nothing. They're literally going to get nothing. We don't risk anything. We're on accounts with dragon spears and monkfish, and the dragon spears aren't even being risked. We protect 3 items.
All right, what do we do here? I made fucking Mule Leech transparent, I think.
So we make it all the way finally to the gate. What we thought would get faster actually got a bit slower because we're now moving over straight path territory instead of diagonal territory, but it was much easier to deal with, even though we did run into spiders multiple times, as well as eventually demons, and then real demons being Pecan clans, which did leave us alone for a price of 100 mil we paid them at the GE, but also, to be fair, they were pretty nice and they stood up to their bargain.
Already on 7-5. Okay. Oh my god, bro, these fucking spiders. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, I fucked up. I was supposed to bring prayer potions. Trial run. It's been a while.
Scurrius took a very smart route in this, and he decided to pay them 35 mil and then another 100 mil whenever we got to the Fountain of Ruin, so they wouldn't just kill us instantly once they got their first part of the money. So they left us alone and cheered us on as we pushed this thing across the gate for another 45 minutes, but finally the gate ended, and we needed to go southeast and start a new path that was very awkward to get into the Fountain of Ruin with this crazy archaeologist boss. So as we finally get him into the Fountain of Ruin, we realize something. Whoops. There's a lot of objects around here. If you get this guy stuck at any point with an object that is to the west of him and to the south of him at the same time, kind of like this crevice of this island that we got to 3 hours into the pushing session, well, he's just going to be stuck. No matter what angle you push him from at this point, whether it be east or north, he's going to only be able to go south or west. And he doesn't naturally path north or east, we found out, at this far of a distance, especially north at this far of a distance. East, never. North, never, once you get a bit out of his aggression zone. So this guy was stuck. We couldn't do anything, and after 5 minutes of not moving, an NPC will despawn. We were now out 135 mil, and we had to try this again. But I realized this was going to be a burden. Every attempt's going to be like, what, 2 to 3 hours? I'm going to have to rely on Scurrius. I'm going to try and just do this by myself. I have 5 accounts. I think that's probably enough. Despite not being able to push the Chaos Fanatic into the Fountain of Ruin directly because of all the objects, I did find a workaround by using this gap between the peninsula and the northern area of the volcano. So, the next day, I shot my shot, and I attempted yet again.
This is pretty much what the route looked like from start to finish going across the wilderness, and you'll see at the very end here what I mean by using the peninsula across from the Fountain of Ruin to avoid all of the objects.
I did get him quite far a few times, kind of learned his movement patterns more, and at some points I did get him unfortunately stuck in areas where there was an object to the west and south of him, kind of like I did at the Fountain of Ruin, but I didn't make it all the way there, so it wasn't a complete loss, but more of a learning experience at these points in time. This took a long time, me having to move my accounts one at a time into new spots, especially now that I was just one singular person controlling 5 alts with spears, but I was kind of getting it down, and I even found a way to fast track this process by using basically just 2 methods of routing my accounts. If I wanted to go east or northeast, I would simply just line up accounts to the northeast diagonal portions, push the crazy archaeologist from the west player, then move 2 tiles to the east where I would then block him from the other southern diagonal. Therefore, he's always blocked from the south and west, although he's freed up from the north and east, he's not going to move those directions. So then I would cycle the next account that's diagonal, push this NPC, then move 2 tiles east to block him from the south while he was stunned. You had to do this while he was stunned or he would instantly start moving. Now, if I was getting into an object that was risky or an area that was risky, whether it be for NPCs or PKers, I would start moving back south and east at the same time by just lining up accounts diagonal going southeast and pushing this crazy archaeologist with 1 account over and over until the last set of diagonal players. Then I would recycle these players back to move more diagonal again and again and again, and then keep pushing this NPC from the northern side south, where he would go southeast but still be blocked by this diagonal grouping of players in a southeast line. As well as if I needed to move northwest, in rarer instances I would just put accounts to the northwest diagonals and then push the archaeologist from the southern side to move him west and north to then be blocked by the next group of diagonal parallel accounts that I had set up. I also realized I did not want to go back to KBD. 1, because I had to go for a longer route across the fence that way, and 2, because there's just way too many people going to the altar to PK, going to KBD, and even going to the Chaos Fanatic in this area. So instead, I decided to make a riskier trek past a temporary Revenant Cave and the Moss Giants by going first northeast, southeast, northeast, southeast, northeast, southeast, going around an obelisk, and then finally going through the kind of northeastern part of Moss Giants, trying to get past the Rev Cave entrance as fast as possible, as that was going to be the most hot spot for activity of PKers. Each of the times I did this, I actually did not see any players, which was good. So I stuck to this route because yes, this wasn't going to be just a one and done thing. This took several tries, and not because of PKers, but because of other reasons you'll soon find out. Eventually, once I got to the fence by going northeast through Moss Giants, then northwest to avoid many NPCs, I moved straight east, took on some more spiders on my alts as I moved straight east, repositioned them, kept moving more east, took on some then greater demons, repositioned them, and moved east. But this time, instead of going straight to the Fountain of Ruin southeast, I would move southeast slightly, but then I would go northeast past the gate to the volcano area that has a clue step there that almost nobody utilizes, which is good because we're less likely to run into PKers here, but also because there's not an insane amount of objects you have to navigate between that are utterly impossible, such as there is at the Fountain of Ruin with all the walls and just weird positioning of the island. From here I moved south of the volcano where my accounts, and even weirdly enough, the crazy archaeologist, took neutral damage from the volcano. This kind of concerned me because in other tasks in the past, recoils have actually killed magic only and special attack only combat achievements I've tried. So I was afraid that maybe this volcano damage, as weird as it sounds, could kill the magic only task if I was to finally kill this NPC. So as I moved along the coastline, there was finally an area to the very southeast peninsula of this northern volcanic island, and unfortunately my crazy archaeologist though had taken some of those volcano hits but had regenerated since then. Regenerated or not though, that's pretty scary because, like I said before, I killed and reset the crazy archaeologist before moving him, just because if anyone's ever touched this thing in any instance even before it regenerated without it being refreshed with anything other than magic, it would ruin the task. So I was thinking possibly this might be true as well with the volcano damage. Anyways, we got it to the place and I logged in on my level 3. From here, I decided to just use a saturated heart and try and out DPS this thing. I was worried it would disappear after about 5 minutes of standing still, but I didn't really think this would matter because as long as I got some damage on this NPC at the Fountain of Ruin with magic, I could then have another ult to go back to where he respawned at his ruins with now less HP and finish him off with a airstrike, serpentine helm, and a toxic trident to venom him while still having most of the damage done on my level 3 at the Fountain of Ruin and having venom act as neutral damage. Venom is one thing I've known in the past that does not kill tasks like these, as well as poison, but yes, recoil and other red hit damage in the past I've noticed does kill these combat achievements. So I started throwing some water strikes with my saturated heart, which was extremely slow, and got him down about 80 hit points, and he did teleport despite me trying to move him and keep him still, unfortunately after about 5 minutes, but I had gotten a considerable amount of damage off, and I took my other main account back to the ruins to finish him off with a snare spell and safe spot him now with the venom. Everything seems right now. My level 3 has the kill credit because it's done the majority damage. My main has venomed him with also a magic spell. It's never said I failed the task in the chat box for the level 3 or this main, but also who knows, because I didn't have the failure chat box enabled for the other accounts pushing this NPC near the volcano. So yeah, I wasn't really sure if it had failed at this point or not. Let's see what happens. I teleported back on the level 3 just in case I needed to maybe be in the area, and I even last hit with a goblin hammer, which didn't do any damage, which by the way, hitting zeros once again and hitting with these spears doesn't kill the task. I made sure and tested that, but no task was completed or failed in the chat box, so I was a bit confused here, and my only real idea as to what happened once again was literally the volcano damage. The volcano area itself had RNG checks and had hit that crazy archaeologist multiple times while pushing him. So yes, after finding all these workarounds and going through this, there would still be an RNG check at the end. The only place this volcano damage did not hit this NPC was at the far southeastern peninsula whenever I do start maging him from the Fountain of Ruin. The other southern borders of this island can still damage you as well as the NPC until you get to that very southern eastern peninsula that I will be attacking him at. So he's safe there, but anywhere else on the route, he's not. From there, even on the beach, it's fully RNG that he can get hit and fail this entire task. So yeah, we have an RNG check with 1, players coming and ruining things, and then 2, the literal lava from the volcano ruining things. Now at this point, I thought I could just cheese this task, as this NPC has almost no magic level, meaning it's susceptible to magic damage, but it does have quite a bit of magic defense bonus, meaning I could splash quite a few times. I do have a lot of magic XP to spare on this account, and the XP I've never worried about on this account because it's already 7 magic XP. It's already got XP from other weird tasks and even the fire cape itself, so I've never been like one of those level 3s that are like never get XP, but I did think about trying to get the XP and do this task the easy way with Venom, Serpentine Helm, Toxic Trident with a bind on an alt, and then hitting a 1 or more with my airstrike, sacrificing HP. The problem was there was just a task if I was to finally kill this NPC. So as I moved along the coastline, there was finally an area to the very southeast peninsula of this northern volcanic island, and unfortunately my crazy archaeologist though had taken some of those volcano hits but had regenerated since then. Regenerated or not though, that's pretty scary because like I said before, I killed and reset the crazy archaeologist before moving him, just because if anyone's ever touched this thing in any instance even before it regenerated without it being refreshed with anything other than magic, it would ruin the task. So I was thinking possibly this might be true as well with the volcano damage. Anyways, we got it to the place and I logged in on my level 3. From here, I decided to just use a saturated heart and try and out DPS this thing. I was worried it would disappear after about 5 minutes of standing still, but I didn't really think this would matter because as long as I got some damage on this NPC at the Fountain of Ruin with magic, I could then have another ult to go back to where he respawned at his ruins with now less HP and finish him off with a airstrike, serpentine helm, and a toxic trident to venom him while still having most of the damage done on my level 3 at the Fountain of Ruin and having venom act as neutral damage. Venom is one thing I've known in the past that does not kill tasks like these, as well as poison, but yes, recoil and other red hit damage in the past I've noticed does kill these combat achievements. So I started throwing some water strikes with my saturated heart, which was extremely slow, and got him down about 80 hit points, and he did teleport despite me trying to move him and keep him still, unfortunately after about 5 minutes, but I had gotten a considerable amount of damage off, and I took my other main account back to the ruins to finish him off with a snare spell and safe spot him now with the venom. Everything seems right now. My level 3 has the kill credit because it's done the majority damage. My main has venomed him with also a magic spell. It's never said I failed the task in the chat box for the level 3 or this main, but also who knows, because I didn't have the failure chat box enabled for the other accounts pushing this NPC near the volcano. So yeah, I wasn't really sure if it had failed at this point or not. Let's see what happens. I teleported back on the level 3 just in case I needed to maybe be in the area, and I even lasted with a goblin hammer, which didn't do any damage, which by the way, hitting zeros once again and hitting with these spears doesn't kill the task. I made sure and tested that, but no task was completed or failed in the chat box, so I was a bit confused here, and my only real idea as to what happened once again was literally the volcano damage. The volcano area itself had RNG checks and had hit that crazy archaeologist multiple times while pushing him. So yes, after finding all these workarounds and going through this, there would still be an RNG check at the end. The only place this volcano damage did not hit this NPC was at the far southeastern peninsula whenever I do start maging him from the Fountain of Ruin. The other southern borders of this island can still damage you as well as the NPC until you get to that very southern eastern peninsula that I will be attacking him at. So he's safe there, but anywhere else on the route, he's not. From there, even on the beach, it's fully RNG that he can get hit and fail this entire task. So yeah, we have an RNG check with 1, players coming and ruining things, and then 2, the literal lava from the volcano ruining things. Now at this point, I thought I could just cheese this task, as this NPC has almost no magic level, meaning it's susceptible to magic damage, but it does have quite a bit of magic defense bonus, meaning I could splash quite a few times. I do have a lot of magic XP to spare on this account, and the XP I've never worried about on this account because it's already 7 magic XP. It's already got XP from other weird tasks and even the fire cape itself, so I've never been like one of those level 3s that are like never get XP, but I did think about trying to get the XP and do this task the easy way with Venom, Serpentine Helm, Toxic Trident with a bind on an alt, and then hitting a 1 or more with my airstrike, sacrificing HP. The problem was there was just a chance of too many splashes in a row, and I could have just ruined this account. So I went first to the deranged archaeologist inside of Fossil Island, where this was a similar task called Mage of the Swamp. I decided to use some XP here just to see how much I would have left over if I did decide, because these have the same defense bonus. I wanted to see how many times I splashed and if I could get both of these tasks completed theoretically. So I killed the deranged archaeologist to make sure that no one else had attacked it with anything but mage. I went ahead and venomed it with an alt using a trident and a serpentine helm, and from there I didn't use a saturated heart because nowadays the higher your magic level, the higher you're going to hit, not just your accuracy, but I did use a glory over a cursed amulet, meaning I could hit a 2 technically with an airstrike on this NPC, and I needed the extra bonus honestly because I was focusing on accuracy more from the glory, which is the same as a fury by the way, rather than the decreased accuracy from the cursed magic amulet, which then allows me to only hit a 1 versus a 2. I would be fine hitting a 2 and getting the extra magic XP just because I want to splash less. I'm more worried about splashing here. I would only have to hit a 1 because 1 would be the last hit of damage, and the snare initially from the Venom alt was also a 1. So even if I hit a 1, the kill credit was mine because I was the last hit of damage equal to the one before that. So I did splash a few times and finally did get the hit off on this NPC after it was venomed, and this was at about 36 magic XP. So I had about 40 XP to spare before level 2, meaning theoretically I could then go back and use this same method for the crazy archaeologist by costing myself some more magic XP. But what would happen if I just got a little bit more unlucky, because every one of these strikes is a 72% chance of miss, and I would just have to miss about 7 more times and I could be 2 magic. I didn't want to waste any magic XP, and I realized this is going to be possible no matter what, even without the magic XP. So let's go back and try it again. So I did this a few more times, messed up a few more times, got entrapped a few more times. I actually didn't get PK'd during this whole experience somehow. I lucked out there, but finally I had gotten him back all the way across the wall to the east to now the volcanic area, and I just had to move as fast as possible to get him to that peninsula and try and figure out how to make sure I didn't get him hooked in the wrong spot as well, while panicking and scurrying around as a solo player at this point. I did this and I somehow lucked out. He never got hit by the volcano damage this attempt, so I was hoping that this is what failed the task and not something weird like him having to respawn across the entire map. At a little under half HP, the crazy archaeologist did reset from my level 3 attacking it for like 15 minutes straight, and this scared me because I wasn't sure if it was the volcano damage at this point that failed the task, or maybe it was this weird teleport back to the ruins. So anyways, I went back there on my main account, once again hit it with a bind to finish it off with only magic damage and venom, which doesn't kill the combat achievement, and just prayed that this task would get done. To my surprise, it actually registered. While I was at the Fountain of Ruin, I didn't even go back. I got the kill credit once again like last time, but this time I also got the mage task. So in reality, the whole thing that was destroying this task through this insane push method was not the spears, not the crazy archaeologist respawning back with his weird HP thousands of tiles to the southwest, but it was literally the pieces of volcanic damage coming from that mountain that was ruining the task. And as you can see, even after doing the Mage of the Swamp task and this task, I now had plenty of XP to spare till 2 magic, which I was afraid might happen if I took on this task in the traditional way. So if you all enjoyed today's video, once again, please subscribe to the channel, leave me a positive comment, hell, even hit the join button if you want to. For 99 cents, you can help support my channel. And I hope you enjoyed again today, making the impossible possible.
Send me another one. But you can't eat or pray. What the fuck?
I noticed some of you pointed out that the voiceover in the last video's intro was a...
Royal Titans on the... I haven't
Hello
even
everyone,
done Royal Titans.
my name's Rindy, and welcome back to my channel, where we're once again taking on level 3 goals that should otherwise be impossible. And yes, we have 2 camera angles again. Don't complain about it. It's only going to make me add more camera angles eventually to this whenever I can afford more cameras. So don't complain, just subscribe instead. But if you can't tell, we're a bit different. We're wearing sunglasses inside to start, and we're just doing crazy tasks on a level 3. I'll link all of those tasks I've done on this level 3 in a playlist below. A lot of them have never been done ever by low level accounts, much less level 3s. So there's a lot of interesting content for you all to check out there. But today we're focusing on the Royal Titans, a new addition to RuneScape that Jagex decided to put in. And yes, even a level 3 can take on the Royal Titans and get kill credit, as well as get most of the combat achievements done. And most importantly, we're going to be looking at an end goal of the speedrun combat achievement record, which is a minute 30, which is already a hard task enough for 2 people in Royal Titans, much less 1 regular person and then 1 level 3 who is basically just leeching his way, and as well as making many inconveniences along the way of killing the Royal Titans. So we're going to see how we're going to end up doing that towards the end of the video. Until then, I want to build up the process in your mind, and step by step we'll look over the deductive reasoning and how we finally got to that end goal of completing Royal Titans in record timing on a level 3, being less than a minute 30. And honestly, if I can be pretty consistent with a low time like that, you could technically get this boss pet as a level 3 in under 60 hours of game time, and no level 3 or skiller in the game for that matter has a Royal Titan pet. So if anyone wants to utilize any of these methods in this video, feel free. There should be a lot of new content in here you've never seen before, and that's going to be fresh and exciting. So Royal Titans is a new boss encounter that Jagex came out with recently that's typically for med-level accounts, nothing level 3, much less lower level. I think the recommended combat level on the wiki is between 80 and 90 plus to complete Royal Titans, so it's definitely not a walk in the park for most people. Today's video is going to be relatively short and concise, I believe, because, well, yeah, it's just all about Royal Titans. Being a newer boss, I had to do a lot of research and trial and error, but in the end, you know, I'm a genius, so it didn't take that long. I'm kidding, by the way. I spent tens of hours figuring all this out and finally getting the minute 30 speed kill. The first thing I want to address about Royal Titans is, unlike a lot of the bosses I've had to kill on this level 3, you don't have to do true damage to it, or you do, but recoil counts as true damage, and that's because it's an instance NPC. A lot of these newer instance NPCs actually count recoil as the real damage, meaning I didn't need to waste time collecting poison dynamite for this boss, which was one of the very few perks. Therefore, once again, that would make this boss boss extremely feasible to go for like a pet roll on over a long period of time, because you wouldn't have to sit there in scabbard caves just collecting dynamite over and over again. But this also meant we would have to take at least one true hit to recoil back a hit on at least one of the two titans in the Royal Titans instance, meaning things like the Perilous Moons method, where I turned into a crate over and over again, as you saw a few episodes back, and Phoenix Necklace nulled all damage. That would never recoil damage because what was proccing the Phoenix Neck was a rock cake. I would need to therefore take damage in some form from these Royal Titans to get that one recoil hit off, if not several, in order to get the kill credit. So there were both perks and disadvantages to having to recoil these bosses for the kill credit. Another cool thing about this new boss is you can avoid almost all the damage in phase 1 before they move to each side of the room. We found out that you can place the alt account north, and the two titans will always target the most northern account as long as I stay about 5 tiles away from this other account. Now if we switch the main and myself around, the Royal Titans would actually start getting confused, and they would be meleeing at different spots, different lines, and it would just be inconsistent and sometimes kill me as well if we did not reduce the Royal Titan's stats. But by keeping the main towards the northern part of the room and me standing 5 tiles away to the south, I only ever had to deal with walls and elementals, which the main would use the staff for to clear for me as fast as possible whenever first just testing out the methods to get KC on the Royal Titans. At first we thought it was absolutely required to take hits even in phase 1, so we had Scurrius go ahead and he would teleport to either his player owned house to regenerate his special attack, or to Narda on special attack alts, then use the new amulet from this actual new boss fight to get back to the entrance and spec transfer and alternate 2 accounts out of the arena again and again to go ahead and spec down the Titan's defense and attack with things like Elder Maul, Arc Light, BGS, etc. After this boss was spec down, there was actually an update recently that came out after the initial release of the Titans that allowed you to enter now into the instance as long as the boss had not gone under 450 health. So after doing all this lowering from the initial 600 health of these two giants, they would no longer hit more than like a 2 or a 3, even though the regeneration rate was very quick. With basically chicken down stats from Darklight specs, would make it near impossible for my level 3 to now die to these Titans. The only thing now that was kind of a threat inside of this boss fight was the elementals and the walls, and that's because the elementals could hit up to 6 and 3 of them would get on you at a time, meaning the main would have to clear them off of you as soon as possible, and you would also have to clear the walls to make sure you could run away from him whenever the other Titans came into melee range and started using their melee attacks, because you would not want to get stomped as well as attacked by elementals at the same time. It was a very easy way to combo yourself out, but normally speaking he would clear the elementals before they explode. Optimally, just to get the KC off on Royal Titans, it was best to just use the staff and switch into ancestral robe sets and one hit them, which was the strategy if we were just going for normal KC. Now, once one of the Titans hit about 255 HP, we would go into phase 2, and you don't want to get stomped even by chicken Titans at the same time. It's going to be a lot of damage in combination with the elementals it also summons. So we would optimally get these down as close as possible to 255 each at first, and then clear one out before both of them started enacting their melee attacks, and we would do this by using claws on the main, scythe, full Torva. At one point I also had my friend Rage Baiter come in and try and do this with welfare gear whenever Scurrius was offline, and with Crystal Halley and max slash bonus and all of these amazing stats, max stats, super combated, piety, it still wasn't enough to take down one of the Titans before they both started stomping. You literally needed max equipment and 2 declaw specs to do this guaranteed almost every time. That works. Okay.
Voice.
Should be good for a moment. Kill him, bro. Kill that fucking bastard. Oh my god. Oh my god. What are you hitting, dude?
Oh my god, bro.
I did the stall properly that time though, but our RNG was fucking shit.
I have fucking max slash accuracy, bro, and I hit fucking a 4 on 8. I don't.
There were occasions welfare gear did pull off its necessary requirements of killing the first Titan before the second one and the first one stomped together, but optimally, Dragon Claws Torva was the go-to to clear this Titan out of phase 2 as soon as possible. Now when these were chickened down like this, it was great, but these kills could go from 7 to 10 minutes long because the start of the fight was just Scurious and his alt entering and respec transferring and going back in with the dark light again and again and again, which once again we're trying to eventually get a 1.5-minute kill time, and 10 minutes, 8 minutes, that's not even close to a 1.5 minutes. So in order to really reach for that 1.5-minute goal, we're going to have to totally just take out the idea of lowering the attack stats of the Titans entirely. We're just going to have to find a way to survive in the instance as well as in phase 2, and that's going to be hard because these Titans can hit up to 25s and I can only put my HP to 15/10 as a level 3 combat account. Before we get into how I kept lowering this time threshold though and optimizing the method for killing the Royal Titans as a level 3 combat account, I gotta give a shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Apex Gaming PCs. Apex Gaming PCs makes all kind of pre-builts that you can slightly customize to your needs, and they are partnering with me again to get you the computer you need. Whether you need their Apex Streamer Plus gamer PC to stream or play tons of clients, or if you're just a casual gamer with a couple of clients up on RuneLite and trying to chill, play some RuneScape, and you need a more budget PC, I would even suggest looking at the Apex Bronze pre-built they have, which has an AMD Ryzen 3 4500, an RX 6500 Ti, and 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is honestly, if you're just running a couple of RuneLite clients like I said, all you need for your computing power. But no matter what you need for your computing power, Apex has you covered, and you can use my link in the description below, as well as use code RENDY to get a 5% site-wide discount across all of their products, which is an additional discount to any other discount that's on the website currently. I tried researching some unorthodox methods once again for possibly avoiding the damage from these NPCs, because phase 1 you can avoid all of the Titan melee damage as long as you're south and the other person is north, but for second phase I would have to at least tank one Titan's melee attacks, but hopefully not both, as once again we had max gear and he could spec one down as soon as it came up, even during the Tide Pod phase while taking massive amounts of damage. But how was I going to survive phase 2? Because this is the part where I did have to take a lot of Titan stomps. That's where things get a little messy. I did try unorthodox methods of delayed healing food I've talked about before, and that was technically possible, but it was going to be very hard to pull off with a stall, the right timing, and doing this over and over again about every 9 ticks from a Titan stomp attack. It was not looking very fortunate for me trying these new methods out. As well, I could use the crate ring and the Phoenix Necklace rock cake method I discovered in my Perilous Moons video to null damage, but once again we have to get a real damage off on this NPC, and that means, you know, we're not going to be able to do that method because that just nulls all the damage. There's not going to be any recoil back onto the Titan to give me the kill credit. So unfortunately, that's not a thing that's happening either. Now, while experimenting with the delayed food method, I actually ran through in phase 1 a couple of times and tried to dodge some of the melee Titan attacks and got killed, but I realized I was like 3 tiles out of his actual melee attack range when I got killed. This technically was a new discovery of mine, which made me realize even though his attacks don't look delayed at all, I was then 3 tiles out of his range, meaning he calculated the damage on me before I was even in the right spot, meaning he calculates damage before his attack hits me, meaning I have exactly 1 tick to tick eat his attack before the attack comes in and kills me.
Alright, unless I actually get food here,
I
like
could tick eat these
think this
melee
is the
stomp
last
attacks
kill
as
of
long as I did
the
them.
trip,
The
but
tick,
we got one
they
more
were
ecumenical
activated with
cookie.
the stomp and kind of predicted his next attack, as sometimes they switched it up in phase 2 and decided to summon more elementals as well. The timing though was very awkward. It was hard to get my muscle memory down for, honestly, and I failed many times even when we saw what were possibly perfect runs going into this thing. But our kill time now, on average, after getting these tick eats down, was about a 50% success rate with 2.5 to 3 minutes per kill.
I could
honestly, which
try
isn't
with
bad.
Bones
Once
and
again,
Peaches
if
and
you
the
were
one
doing that on
anglerfish.
average, it would
Like
be,
maybe
less
I
than
can get it,
100
but we'll
hours
try.
if you sacrificed every kill for a 1 in 1500 chance. Now I could also go for the amulet here, which is an untradeable, which would be cool to have on a level 3, but the likelihood of getting that is based on how much contribution you give to the boss fight. And you know, I'm hitting like a few recoil hits for 600 health. It would take me thousands of kills to probably get that amulet and nearly 1,000 hours, although it would be possible. So back on the topic, now we're at 2.5 to 3 minutes a kill. This still was not optimal though. We found some other things that helped with this. We made an adjustment in phase 2 and Scurrius on the main account in the full tour, but would basically just tank all of the Tide Pod phases and take massive amounts of damage, as well as, you know, attack one Titan at a time, which damaged him through prayer, but it still wasn't cutting it. We were getting down to about 2 minutes 30, and to make sure I did not die, especially in phase 2, he would switch to staff and ancestrals and kill the elementals before they even touched me, so I could tick eat the phase 2 Titan, because if more than one NPC is on me and I'm trying to tick eat, my HP calculation is going to be all over the place and it's going to get me killed, as you can see here. So another adjustment we took was to just never focus the elementals, not even the ones on me, and I realized there was only going to be 4 sets of elementals if I did this kill quick enough. There was only a 50% chance that they were going to attack me each time, and 50% chancing that 4 times is not that bad. I also found out as long as I run away from the elementals right before they explode, their explosion damage won't hit me, and therefore I can basically out eat with combo eats such as pizzas and Guthix Rest from 1 to 15 HP, and even Phoenix necklaces at times to never get killed, because these things only max 6 each and they're all attacking me typically
was like
at different
6
intervals.
kill trip.
So
I'm happy with that.
Through P1
People do 20
kill
kill trips and shit, but like they're doing
and then hope that during
Chinchampas
P2,
and other
with
shit.
the 2
like
phases of elementals,
this
that
is
they both
the strat that
attack
I'm
Scurrius,
doing.
because of
The strat that I'm doing is like actually I mimic from Rice Cup, I think his name was. It was like a Korean guy or whatever. He's an Iron Man as well, badass Iron Man, but he did this strat with like a twisted bow, so I'm kind of like doing a crossbow shield version, but it was like, I figured since I have a spectral that has really good magic defense, that should be my offhand, because we're going to be playing mage and kiting the melee and, you know, freezing the melee, so we should barely be taking any melee damage at all. Oh wow, can't put that in there. Yeah, the sailing is really taking up our bank spaces. I mean, I could release that. These aren't things we're gonna use again, pretty sure. Magic stone maybe later. Release that. I don't really care what my sailing stuff looks like. I'll find it eventually. There we go. Now put this here in my elk tab. Yeah. Throughout Slayer, my main goal is to like try and get greater demon tasks so I can go and do tormented demons to get another burning claw, so I have like kind of like a dragon claw spec as an Iron Man. Because the other way of getting dragon claws is literally doing cocks and getting lucky, but this is also getting lucky too, is getting 2 of these. But then I also need, when I'm killing them, I need the synapse so I can upgrade my arc light to ember light, right? Yeah, and then that's like the best thing for beating the fuck out of like Doom and Yama, so I can get like Oath Plate, which is apparently better than like Bandos or some shit like that, so that would be helpful for raids, I would like to think. I don't even know the new meta thing. Like Missouri is definitely better than Arma that I'm like trying to get right now, but I mean, I've wanted Arma, full Arma at least, and full Bandos, just for the sake of just say, yeah, I've done those grinds. I'm a fucking Iron Man, bro. I mean, if we look at my entire bank, like over 1 bill, that's no trading. I've accumulated all this throughout like 4 or 5 years. It's crazy fucking work, in my opinion. Like, this is better than any shaman tank I've ever played in World of Warcraft. Like, that's baby hours, probably maybe enough for a 99 in this game or 2. But like this is the real grind. My probably most accomplishment of like any game is like this Iron Man account, to be honest. It has many stories behind it. Like getting this Tanzanite helm, it used to be a Serpentine helm, and I got the Serpentine helm on 6 KC at Zulra, which actually I was first killing Zulra with like anti-poisons. I don't think I have any in my bank, because that's like a newbie item to have at this game. At this point of the game, like I've got antidotes. I don't need anti-poisons, but yeah. I was using anti-poisons. Where's my trusty Ivan staff? It's somewhere here. There it is. I was using Ivan staff and a rune crossbow to fucking kill Zulra, and like mystics and like maybe some clue gear, but mainly I'd imagine I think I was in like D-hide gear. No, probably not even black D-hide gear at that point. I was maybe in my level 60s for range and maybe probably higher magic. So I did more magic damage, but like I had like I think I had snake boots, like whatever range upgrade I could get. I had weird ass range gear, and then I had like mismatching, or no, I had matching mystic gear. I'm pretty sure, maybe a piece of mystic with like an Aram's piece, because I might have been doing barrows at that point as well in this account. I think the last thing I needed on this account to complete barrows is straight up the Guthen's plate body, the dad mod. But I've got every single like set. Full Guttons, full Carols, full Torags, full Daroks, full Varoks, and then I have there's like one other brother, right? I have full Aram's. The Aram's hood is somewhere, but Aram's there. I have Aram staff somewhere, like Aram. Yeah, I've got full Aram, so I've got the staff and everything else, but I don't use the hood because I got lucky one time and fucking so I was just trying to teach myself and learn solo Cox, like Chamber of Zarek, and one of the like, you know, rare drops or whatever, uniques is the ancestral hat, part of the ancestral pieces of gear, which is like the best mage gear, unless there's better mage gear than ancestral now. I don't know. I haven't played in a year or so, maybe even 2 years really, to keep up with what's the new meta. But back in the day, my bank was pretty, I mean, it's still pretty goddamn impressive, to be honest. Just looking at this first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. Like, I got a fucking spectral spirit shield. Like, I'm in the probably 1% of Iron Man that have that item, to be honest. Like, I grinded Corporal Beast. I hella grinded that motherfucker. Like, actually, what's my KC? I'm going off on a tangent. 707. All right, Rendy, continue.
It was pretty much a guaranteed death, but once again, we're going for the speedrun time, and even one attack onto the elementals versus one of his attacks with the scythe onto one of the titans would cut a lot of time off for this task. So now we were getting down to about 2 minutes with the new elemental strategy. We also completed a task which was never kill the elementals by me just tanking them and getting that lucky 50% RNG twice on the last phase of the Royal Titans. Also, we even tried those new aggression potions to make sure it wasn't possible to grab aggro always on the main account versus me, but those potions did not unfortunately work on the elementals, and it was still a 50-50 shot whether they tagged me or him.
Yeah, I think this actually is the layout for my... Yeah, this makes more sense. Yeah, I put half side of like Sardom and Bruise to match with the Super Restores, and then the rest prayer potions, and then
now how are we to
whatever
lower
food
the time
we
from
get.
about 2:15 to 2 minutes?
It was
to
a
1
bit
minute
sketchy.
30.
I forget how I did
30 seconds
that.
is still a lot of time. Scurrius had another alt with the necklace that he would teleport with the Desert Amulet to Narda to get special attack back, then back to the Royal Titans instance with the necklace. And this account was basically a maxed ranger with a ZCB and Ruby Bolt E's. He would first go on the account with the scythe, switch into his Zerite crossbow there, but not use the spec because he would have to reserve 2 claw specs for phase 2 to kill one of the Titans once again as soon as possible. But he would start an instance and instantly try and get the Ruby Bolt E-Spec normally without the Zerite special attack on one of these Titans on his main account. Once he got that, he would then enter on his other account and use the actual special attack on that ZCB to get another 100 Ruby Bolt E-Spec off on the other Titan. He didn't want to lower down the first Titan too much because the catch here is you can't enter if the Royal Titan goes under 450 hit points. Once it hits 450 on either of the Titans, it cuts off the instance and no one else can enter at that point. So both Titans were initially at 500 HP from these two quick in succession Ruby Bolt E-Specs. And then I would come on my account with an Elder Maul spec and quickly lower the two NPCs defense stats with each a Brood down spec with high attack to make sure I didn't hit it under 450 health, but to also make sure I would reduce its defense by 60% of the base, going from 100 to 40 defense on both of these Titans, which would slightly speed up the kill for Scurrius hopefully when he pulled out the scythe. I would then exit on this spec account, being the third account now in the instance, and replace it with the level 3. I would scream at Scurrius when I was going in as there was a fade in and he could start attacking as soon as that fade in started, one tick into it, as I would be put in the instance even if the Royal Titans went under 450 HP at that point because I was already entering said instance. This allowed us to get times like 1 minute 50, 1 minute 54, but it still wasn't enough. There were a few problems here. Basically the fade in and out we realized of switching between the three accounts, first Scurrius' second ZCB account into my spec account and then into my level 3, each one of those was like 12 ticks long, just waiting to leave the exit through the fade out and then the fade in of the new account coming in. This would kind of kill the time that Scurrius had to possibly take down the Titans in their first melee zone, which would really be the only way to get a minute 30 kill. So we would maybe have to find a way to get out of the cave quicker and enter the cave quicker, or just have less accounts in general go inside, because this was killing a lot of time that Scurrius could be meleeing these giants during the first phase. Another thing we realized is he could go ahead and get a fire giant task on the main account to use a Slayer Helm in order to increase his accuracy and his max hits by about 16% when it came to the speedrun goal, which would probably drop another 10 seconds off of the task. This shaved off about another 10 seconds and we were now in the minute 50 range, but the next step is really what made the difference and what made this 1 minute 30 speedrun goal possible for the Elite Royal Titans task. My idea was this: there is about a 3-second invincibility cooldown window whenever you enter into the Royal Titans area, where you won't get attacked by any NPCs, elementals, or any damage whatsoever. This gave me the idea that we could enter on first his ZCB account and then do a Ruby Bolt E-Spec, quickly log off so then another account could enter instantly without having to wait for the fade out of the account that had just left. We also realized the Elder Maul ult I had that lowered the defense of this NPC really didn't matter enough, as the fade in and out took too much time,
99,
and
whatever.
was in max
I could probably
bonus,
go
and
in
this
now,
NPC
fuck it.
only had 100 base defense anyways. It really actually probably added time rather than subtracted it, or pretty much just leveled it out and didn't have any effect. So we wanted to replace the Elder Maul account with another account, and this is where Rage Baiter came into play again. We had a third ZCB account. So what we would do here is first Scurrius on his main would go in, Ruby Bolt E-Spec one of the Titans to instantly 490 health from 600 with a 110 Ruby spec. He would already be in the instance on his second account with the ZCB spec, and then he would then fire a hit with the Ruby Bolt spec on the other Titan. He would log out during the 3-second invincibility period, call the log out, and then Rage Baiter would come in on his max range account with ZCB. My thought here, my plan here though, was to tell Rage Baiter the same thing. Communicate with me now whenever he was having that 3-second invincibility period, and the split moment he pressed log out so my level 3 could enter. This is because he would fire a Ruby Bolt E-Spec and log out, but the Ruby Bolt E-Spec takes a second or two as a projectile being a range weapon to actually hit the Royal Titan. So this thing would go from 490 down to 380 health, but before it went under the 450 threshold, I would instantly enter on my level 3 and the fade in to the new instance would start. Now I would enter and that Royal Titan would already be at 340 health, coming towards Scurrius for him to scythe down a few more times to pull them instantly into phase 2, where he would then spec this NPC out and go as fast as possible into the last NPC, being the one he's on task for with his Slayer helmet. What?
That was way faster. And that was like a scuffed run, like Rage entered late, and you were hitting like ass. Okay, this should definitely be possible then. We actually, for some reason, thought this took much longer, and when that was with many mistakes, and so we were like, okay, this is promising. So my idea for logging in and firing a Ruby Bolt E, logging out, then entering as soon as that projectile launched in the air with my level 3, and still allowed for me to come inside before it hit the Titan, seemed to work perfectly. And we kept doing this a few more times, and each time was very close to a minute 30. Finally, after attempt 3 or 4, we had gotten it. We also decided once again to not touch the elementals after phase 2, and just hoped that we had the 50% chance on both of the run-throughs of the elementals towards the end that they did not attack me, and instead went for Scurious as he was attacking the Titan. I basically just had to avoid standing near these elementals even if they were on him, because I did not want them to pop on me and damage me and kill me. I had to avoid walls, and then I had to tick everything perfectly, as well as time my entry with Rage Bear's last Ruby Bolt E-spec onto the Fire Titan. So with everything down, our coordination intact, this is what a kill kind of looked like from my perspective and Rage Baiter's perspective.
Fucked off.
Man.
No way you got in.
Got it.
Success!
The ticking was absolutely awful for some reason on this boss, because there was only one tick of clearance. If I just, did it at the end of a tick versus the beginning, I would miss the tick eat and die. But luckily in this case, I got the tick eats off, got the recoil damage to be the true damage because they were traditional tick eats, and then I got that kill in under 1 minute 30, being 1 minute 24 on attempt number 4 with this new method. I now just needed the 25 kill count for the last combat task I could do on this account, and that would be done with kind of a mixture of the two methods. We would still use some Ruby Bolt E's, but not all of them. We would also make sure that Scurious went ahead and tagged all the elementals on me and cleared the walls, because now we weren't having a crazy time constraint. And here we were getting about an average of 2 minute and 10-second kills, and we could consistently keep this up without me ever dying as long as I hit my tick eats perfectly. This meant that you could probably get a Royal Titan's pet in about 50 hours from scratch on a level 3 if you really, put your mind to it and get the muscle memories correct for the tick eats, as well as have a friend help you out along the way, which really for a boss pet on a level 3 is one of the quickest grinds I've seen, even compared to like the Chaos Elemental, like I said at the beginning of this episode, which tons of level 3s at this point have. So it's just a matter of time before someone gets that 1 in 1500 sacrifice. There were a couple more tasks I didn't complete with Royal Titans just because they were either so improbable or they just were totally impossible, and that was the one where you had to stay in for 10 kills. I probably could do this with a looting bag and enough Guthix rest, as long as there was a strategy with the main for him to survive for those 10 kills as well, because no one can leave during those 10 kills for that task. But it did seem kind of unfeasible because the main takes more damage in the process of killing the Titans, because for example in phase 2, since these aren't chicken down with special attacks, because you can't leave the instance, you have to clear one of these Titans instantly, and therefore the main's going to take damage through prayer from the other Titan, as that's one of the disadvantages and why Jagex wanted you to kill both Titans around the same time. I did get other tasks out of the way though by chickening down these with the Dark Light that Scurious had and his spec transfer alt, such as lowering both Titans and killing them at the same time, which was possible because once again they could only max 2 or 3s and I could just out tank their damage with their melee attacks even in phase 2. But finally there was another task that seemed possibly feasible but once again improbable, and that was the perfect Royal Titans. We would have to
do everything like we did, chicken everything down, and not go ahead and kill one of the titans in phase 2 so that the main could, you know, never take any damage on prayer, because that's what happens if you kill one of the titans. As well, I would just have to hope that about 8 attacks from these titans would hit zeros on me with their chicken down stats, which would then be regenerated towards the end of the kill to about 10 attack and strength, which had about a 60% chance of hitting on me each time. Even with my potted super defense and max defense bonus, 60% chance risking that 10 times in a row was improbable, maybe even more, because I think it would take longer for a kill like that to make sure everything was perfect. As well, I would have to make sure that none of the elementals touched me. And the last part of this that made it a big problem was I couldn't take any damage, therefore I couldn't recoil for the kill credit to count, and that meant I would have to waste poison dynamite every time on their full 100 defense, possibly a few, and try and get it off when they're in their melee phase from a diagonal position and not take any damage from them at the same time, which probably would cost over 1,000 dynamite in attempts, in combination with the fact that I have to just tank 10 hits at the end with a 60% chance that each one hits me. I just don't think perfect Titan's task is feasible, although theoretically possible, maybe with like a 0.1% chance and thousands of dynamite. It's not worth it in the slightest, unless it's like the only task I have left to elite tier, if that's ever possible at some distant future point in time with more bosses added to the game. But once again, we're stuck to hard hill. Yes, we're the only level 3 with hard hill, but we're still completing combat achievement tasks just to push our threshold up for the hard hill in case more updates happen that we can't complete. Fortunately for us though, this Royal Titans update, we could actually do most of those tasks, and this was a helpful point in adding more points and getting a closer threshold to the elite combat achievements as a level 3, which still at this point are totally improbable, but you never know in the future. Thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the theory crafting, the oddities, the ins and outs of this game that some people don't look at to overcome some of the most unique and niche tasks, please drop a subscription. I might go out on the street again soon, do some Bigfoot hunting. I don't know, I gotta switch it up. I feel like I'm really burnt lately, but I'm sure I'll get my passion back for RuneScape here soon. I go through these periods of time every now and then. It's just a phase, so we're just chilling. I'm sure it happens to y'all too, so thank you all for watching. I'll see you again soon, and take it easy out there. The world's crazy right now. Also, do something fun, do something rewarding. Have a good day. Have a wonderful, fantastic day, please, because I'm Rendy and I told you so. Hello everyone, my name's Rendy and I like to play RuneScape, specifically on a level 3 account. And today we're gonna do just that. We're gonna take on more challenges as a level 3 that no other level 3 has even attempted, much less completed. And we're gonna dissect the ins and outs of this game to overcome this niche, unique challenge and be the first to do so. Be rank 1 in the game, because we're the only one in the game to ever take on this challenge, or
What the
maybe
fuck
not
are
take
my
it on, but
dead
complete
clicks?
it.
Bruh.
Humble brag. You might be thinking, oh boy. No, you might be thinking, oh boy, that's a low level boss. That shouldn't really be that much of a problem, but actually this was worse than what we were seeing last episode with Royal Titans and a lot of the bosses I've encountered. I would rate this as a top 10 challenge of mine, just because the sheer millisecond accuracy you need for your clicks at such a consistent rate and an advanced level. And also even the theory crafting and the ability to defeat this boss in the first place took enough time as is, much less the execution. I would say the execution took much longer, as you'll see, but this boss was not easy. And it required keys to get kill count on the high scores, because we wanted 5 kill count being the minimum required kill count on the old school RuneScape boss high scores to show up. So because we're level 3 and the only one on the high scores for this boss, that means we're rank 1 automatically as a level 3. I have actually heard of a couple of skillers trying to theory craft a method to this, but a lot of those methods involved cooked sunlight antelope and stalled food tick eats. Now, I didn't have to use that. Well, for the entrance of the boss, I did. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, if you'd like to be the first to see never before seen gameplay, subscribe to the channel. As well, I'll try to entertain you along the way, make it a little bit less boring, because to be fair, a lot of these challenges are very complicated, very hard to explain. So I have to kind of explain and delve into the process of what was found, how it was figured out, how I used deductive reasoning, and how I came to the final conclusion of, in this case, 5 Obor KC on a level 3, as well as about 3 combat achievements, because once again, I'm trying to get combat achievements done on my level 3. Right now, we're the only level 3 in the game with a hard hilt for the combat achievements, but I want to keep going up and up and up as much as I can. So why I chose Obor is they recently did a patch which got my interest, and that was you can now enter Obor's room with only 1 key and kill Obor again and again and again. But little did I know at first, this wasn't going to count for the kill count, and Obor itself was so difficult to kill just once even, that it wasn't even worth killing for the 1 in 16 key chance that it dropped at a significantly higher rate than normal hill giants being a 1 in 124, or even hill giants in the wilderness being a 1 in 62. Let's just say it took about 100 times the amount of time to kill Obor, if not 1,000 times the amount of times to kill Obor, as it did a level 20 something in the wilderness. So it came down to the point where I was going back to the wilderness for at least 5 keys to count on the high scores. As well, I found out the kill count combat achievements for Obor only register not on Obor's actual death, but the looting of the chest is where those count. So I did have to get 5 giant keys in total to complete this task, and that in itself, before even figuring out how to do this, took tons of time. But for the hill giant kills alone, much less Obor kill count, I would need to farm Nightshade, and once again, this is a very lengthy process where I can only get about 300 poison dynamite or 900 Nightshade a day before hitting the world top limit. So I spent about 3 hours a day for about 5 days collecting 1,500 poison dynamite just to get these keys to begin with. But anyways, yeah, at this point we've already collected 15 to 20 hours worth of poison dynamite by hopping through the caves and just sitting there like an idiot and putting Nightshade into these dynamite barrels just for 3 tasks, 1 kill count completion, 5 kill count completion, and lastly, this one's even more difficult than you imagine, not getting hit by a singular attack throwing you into the wall. So I took my 1,500 poison dynamite at this point, went to the mage bank, got on a Venomolt that would snare 1 damages to these hill giants, and banked over and over again with range pots and Guthix Rest to the hill giants out in Deep Wilderness Dungeon. These were the easiest. It wasn't multi-combat, but there were safe spots, so I could alternate between the level 3 and the Toxic Trident Serp Helm account and always guarantee a Venom. Every time I would hit a 1 with the dynamite, I would wait it out, see if a poison came through, but if it did not, I would just wait for the hill giant's HP to go back up, and then I would try again. This is because I just have to hit majority real damage to get the kill count and the drop, and I can hit between a 1 and a 4, so anywhere between a 2 and a 4 with that dynamite would give me majority damage, versus the Venomolt only being able to hit a 1 with snare and then proccing the Venom to kill the rest of the hill giant's HP off, but still giving my level 3 majority damage in the kill, because Venom doesn't count towards that kill. So I spent a lot of time here. At about 230 KC, I was a little bit under rate, but I had gotten 4 keys at this point, and now I could set out to what I truly wanted to attempt, and that was killing Obor, and then hoping I got lucky with the last key coming from the chest being a 1 in 16 chance, or from Obor itself being a 1 in 16 chance again. So basically a 1 in 8 chance off 4 keys. I got a 50% chance, that's probably not the correct math, to get a 5th key for the kill count. But little did I know, the 15 hours getting the poison dynamite, and then the other 10 hours collecting these keys, killing maybe 20 hill giants an hour. We're now at 25 hours and we haven't even started Obor, and I thought the hard part was over. I thought this was just going to be a grindy goal, not necessarily a difficult one, but let's just say I was wrong. I am 40% French. That tells you a lot, to be honest. Okay, so back to Obor. Yes, we made our way to now Edgeville with an eternal glory. Unlimited Edgeville teleports. We had our 4 keys. We had exhausted about 1,200 of the 1,500 dynamite, which we were on target for getting the 5th key if we had to from hill giants back in Deep Wildy, but we still had to figure out the boss itself being Obor. And like I said, once again, we needed the keys for the actual kill count combat achievements. I tested this on a main, and I also realized only neutral damage doesn't even grant you the Obor kill count or the drop, but it does give you access to the chest. So technically I would not have to poison dynamite this boss, but the wiki said it wasn't immune to poison, so if I could poison this boss, I could do near 100 of its 120 health with poison, and knock a lot of that down and out of the way. So initially I did want to use Poison Dynamite for Obor. As well, I needed to get the physical kill count credit on one of these combat achievements, being the one where I suffer no melee attack into the wall. The other ones were just chest only, being the 1 in 5 KC. There was other Obor tasks like F2P, which was impossible because recoils can't be used in F2P, poison's not in F2P. There's no way to kill this boss for me on a level 3 in F2P. It's just off limits. There was another task I was thinking about doing if poison was possible, and that was the task where you're not getting hit by anything, even the range attacks, and that's going to be very hard because we're going to have to rely on recoil probably to take down most of this boss's HP. Maybe we can knock 100 of it off with poison, but then we still have 20 HP we have to take off, which we could maybe take off with 1 vengeance, maxed HP, and die as the hill giant dies, giving another 10 vengeance damage, plus if a long stall takes into account, maybe 5 2 recoil damages if he's hitting me for max HP in 5 ticks, and we both fall to the floor at the same time. I had a weird theory for doing this, as well as using poison and cure poison while sliding down the rocks to never get damaged.
I don't think we're getting this kill,
get a
chat.
poison dynamite on,
I don't
but
think
I'll find
so.
out later. This achievement was also impossible for an entirely different reason. But the first part of Obor to overcome was just sliding down the rocks. Now, actually, I'm not the first level 3 to look into Obor. There have been several, and the initial idea was to get this 1 in 4 poison dynamite chance from a safe spot, either by
hit the
de-aggroing him past
fucking
10 minutes, going up
22,
and down
bro,
the entrance here, and then holding off his aggression and
please.
running away, or by going into this safe spot that
Okay, we got
happens
the
to be safe
freeze.
until you do physical damage to
Please.
him, and then
Kill him.
red Xing
Okay,
him, and then
please, be the
finally
fucking
finishing
play
off
skirt.
the rest of his HP with delayed
Oh
food like
my
Sunlight
God.
Antelope, and you could use a stall in combination with the
Whoops. Alright. I think what we're gonna do here is call it a stream. At least for this. I may log on to WoW if I get some like arena buddies to do some threes with. Might do that. But yeah, I gotta get more ecumenical keys, and that takes like a bajillion years of RNG for me to get. But yeah. A little bit warmed up to Kriara. We've got probably, I'm thinking 7 to 8 more trips in us before this task is done, I think. Yeah, maybe I should have added food to that. We only did drink 1 whole prayer potion that entire time. Maybe like 3 prayer potions and like 2 pieces of food or something. Maybe. Yeah. Call it a stream here. Thanks for tuning in, people. You have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is. Whoever is watching, wherever you are on the planet, have a good one. Peace.